We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Good evening. Happy Thursday. Happy fan-led Thursday to everybody out there. Good evening to you, Dr. Jared Johnson. Man.
First question, Chantel Bryler, right on time? Yes. Fan-led Thursday, question answer.
Right on time, yes. And there were a lot of people who are and were skeptical of how fan-led Thursday was going to go. Jared, you and I were talking about this before I clicked the live button. We said we go into this with the best intentions of taking questions, and then I end up going on a rant for about 45 minutes before we get to the first one. So we're going to start right out of the gate. Again, it's fan-led Thursday. If you've got a topic, if you've got a question, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, throw it in the comments section. Jared and I are going to try to tackle as many of these things as we can within an hour. I don't know. Were we 2 minutes late?
No.
The
intro is 2 minutes long. That's
what it is. We're going to start right out of the gate with Matt Kirby from the Facebook page. He is asking the question that everybody wants to know right now. Who is the head coach going to be? Nobody knows. And, it's such a weird time to be a fan because you spend so much time on social media and reading all of these, this update and that update and all these reports that are coming out. But then when you get in, you click it and you read through it, it's like, there's no information in here. There's nothing. Like, I was even thinking about this today. Where did Kalen DeBoer's name come from? Where did Kenny Dillingham come from? To me, that feels like I get why they would be considered like candidates you would want to pursue, but is that a media driven thing? Like, I don't know that anybody from Michigan has said anything about those two names. To my knowledge, it just seems like all of this speculation is media driven. But Jared, I think we are sitting here on Thursday, the same place we've been. Nobody really knows. There's a handful of insiders out there that I think you can trust. I mean, it's very limited. I think there's like 3 or 4 people in the Michigan media circle that maybe you can trust for like insider information, but even that pool seems to be shrinking down
anymore after all this, because a lot of those guys that I kind of trusted came out and said, Sharon's there forever. There's salacious rumors. And then out that they were true. Like you said it last week. I think that some of these guys maybe just don't want to rock the boat, and risk going to the opposite side of some people at Michigan, because Michigan is kind of known for, controlling the narrative a little bit, a little bit of 1984 style. That's a book reference, which if anybody reads books, but no, you don't.
Yeah, I get the reference though, and I think that's fair. I mean, Michigan is going to trot out a few players tomorrow for a press conference, and right, they're already getting some criticism because right in that email was a disclaimer that none of the players that are going to appear for the press conference are going to be able to answer any questions about the events from last week. And so right there off the bat, I mean, you're talking about the biggest story, one of the biggest stories in the country. You're finally going to have an opportunity to talk to the guys who are, directly impacted by this thing. And I think you're going to have to try to be cute with how you sort of navigate that question to try to get some insight out of them. But yeah, I mean, everybody's tight-lipped, and I think that's how it works. And so, Matt, when you say who's going to be the next coach, I truly think nobody knows. I know that they've got Turnkey, this firm that's working on their behalf, that's going out and, interviewing or speaking with agents out there for various candidates and gaining interest. And I think at this point, probably Michigan has a sizable list or a decent list of candidates who would be willing to entertain an offer. And I think that they're going to spend, the next several days reviewing that, making calls, probably having Zoom meetings. And then if you got to do some face-to-face stuff, you move on to that. But at this point, Matt, if I were a betting man, I would say that they don't really have anybody that's a sure thing at this point, and I think that's where it stands. And anything else that you're hearing out there, I mentioned it about the social media stuff, dude. Can I just say this? There are too many people that are posing and pretending to be insiders on social media. I don't know if it's as bad on Facebook, but I know it is terrible. It is terrible on Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it. There are dozens and dozens of accounts that are claiming that they know this or they heard that, and so is going to be this and so is going to be that. It's all bullshit. Like I said, there's maybe like 3 or 4 legitimate people that you should follow and listen to, and most of them use their actual name and their actual photo. So that's a good place to start.
I got to correct something though, because I am a gambling man. I am a betting man. You can't say if I was a betting man, I wouldn't place a bet. That's what you just did there. You said if I was a betting man, I would say, I don't know. So no, the question is, who is our coach going to be? You have to pick a name. Go.
Pick a name. Who's it going to be? A week-ish ago, I guess, dude, it feels like forever ago. Like the Sherrone Moore thing feels like forever ago. I thought it was going to be Jedd Fisch. There was a point in time where I thought, like, that just makes sense. There's the Michigan connection there. He kind of, he's doing the thing at Washington, had a solid recruiting class. And then all of a sudden the report comes out either yesterday or the day before that, oops, Jedd Fisch is no longer in the running. There was something in the background or whatever it was. I don't exactly know. And again, I'm not going to speculate on that, but the latest reporting is that Jedd Fisch is out. And so to me, Jared, this feels like it's a Kalen DeBoer, Kenny Dillingham thing. A lot of that feels like it's media manufactured, but those are the 2 names we're hearing most often. And so unless it comes out of left field, I guess my name is going to be on Kenny Dillingham because I don't think Kalen DeBoer is going to make that move.
I think if I like Curbs put us on the spot, I think it's going to be, I would have to say Dillingham right now. If I had to pick somebody, confidence level, not very. I would hedge my bets with the field, right? Like if it's a bet, I take him to win, and I'm also taking the field just to hedge my bet so I don't lose money. But I think that Michigan can offer him something, right? Michigan can offer him exposure. Michigan can offer him the brand. Michigan can offer him, the shining bright lights of the big house. And you mentioned it a week ago, and I didn't give you props for it, but I thought it was incredibly smart, which was odd for you. But he had to dig that one in. He mentioned his guys, right? And he was like, I'm here for everybody, and I want everybody the best to happen to everyone. He was basically saying, like you said, hey, I'm willing to go to Michigan if they're willing to pay my guys. And I think Michigan's willing to do that. And I think he can bring everybody up with him, and obviously he'll probably keep some guys at Michigan. I think he will. He'll, like I said, he'll look at who recruited who and maybe keep some guys. But if I had to bet, I'd bet on Dilly, as the fans are saying as well. So
yeah. And
we answered your question.
It's really funny the way that works, because right after Dillingham had his first press conference in front of the media, all of the Arizona State fans, which I honestly, I didn't really know there were many Arizona State fans,
6 or 7,
but like the interactions, there we go. The interactions, as a side note, can that just pass? Can the next dumb thing?
I'm addicted to it now. I can't help it.
I'm ready for the next dumb thing. This 6-7 thing has been along for far too long. Just bring on the next stupid thing. I cannot believe that this 6-7 thing has lasted as long as that. My daughter came home from school the other day. They had a whole 6-7 day. It was the 67th day of the school year, and they were coloring 7 pictures or whatever. She did it all night. So, yeah, we need this thing to pass. That was completely sidetracked there. The Dillingham thing, when he went to the media and he spoke, there were a lot of Arizona State fans that took that as like an ironclad, like, see, he wants to be here. He's not going anywhere. And I saved a few receipts that I plan on using if and when that actually happens. But it just goes to show that, like, it doesn't matter what Dillingham says. It doesn't matter what DeBoer says. And even if you're paying attention and you watch the way that they talk and they phrase, like, they don't say anything definitive. And the only reason DeBoer said it was because they kept backing him into a corner. And then at one point he's like, fine, yes, the plan is for me to be here next year. But we all know that plans can change. And so,
yep.
When it comes to this coaching search, yeah, I think guys are going to leverage whatever they can leverage, whether or not that's to get a better deal where they're at or to get a sweeter deal at their next destination. But at this point in time, as we sit here on Thursday, I don't think that there's anybody that's a sure thing. And Jared, you and I have talked about this, like when it comes to the Michigan coaching search, like, DeBoer is about the closest thing to a sure thing you can get. I mean, he had success at Washington, obviously took him to a national championship, did great recruiting there. And then you look at what he's doing at Alabama. He's kind of, repeating the same pattern of success. It's taking a while. And plus you're following in the wake of Nick Saban. What's that?
Is he the dude though? Four losses at Alabama back-to-back years. I mean, at some point, unless he wins the Natty this year, he's going to have another 4-loss year.
Yeah, so but they're back-to-back. I mean,
like, is he the dude?
But also 10 wins in the college football playoff. And there's more. There's more parity in college football. I get it. Like Nick Saban threw the expectation in Tuscaloosa like as high as it could possibly be. But in terms of like being a solid, I would put DeBoer as like a borderline tier 1 guy. I think he's putting himself in that. When you take the Washington Huskies to a national championship, I think, okay, there's some validity to that. And now he's at Bama and he's trying to pick up after what Nick Saban left behind. and he's got them back in the playoff, and they've got a shot to make a little bit of run here. We'll see what happens against Oklahoma. But you get outside of Kalen DeBoer, none of these guys are a sure thing. None of these guys are tier one things. And listen, this is one of those dangerous things on a Fan-Led Thursday, because I believe we're still on Matt Kirby's question here, the first question of the night. We're 10 minutes in. I could go off on a tangent about this tier one and, kind of who Michigan should get, who they could get type thing. At the end of the day, look at the list. I think that tells you everything you need to know. To me, Kalen DeBoer is the closest thing to a tier one coach that is in this at least running right now.
Proven guy.
Everybody else is a kind of maybe a sort of hope, like even Dillingham, like, yeah, he's had some success at Arizona State, but this guy does not have a long track record of success. He's young, he's energetic. Like, is the upside there? Sure. But he is far from being a sure thing. And I get it. He worked with Bo Nix and, he's been a part of some solid offenses, but again, it's not a sure thing. Colin from the Facebook page, he said, who would you guys like to see as the next head coach, Biff or the kid from Arizona State? This is kind of in the same line. I don't think there's a comparison there. I don't think that the Biff Poggi thing, that's been pretty polarizing within the Michigan fan base over the last couple of days. I think this discussion surrounding Biff Poggi, and at what point in time, if you're listing out coaches and it's like, okay, DeBoer, not interested, Dillingham, not interested. Like, how far down the list do you go before you're like, okay, Biff is the best option at that point? Jared, I don't know how far down the list you go, but to me, if it's between Biff and Dillingham, it's not even a question. You go Dillingham. Where do you stand?
Yeah. To answer the question, black and white, cut and dry, no extra fluff. Yeah, you take Dillingham if you had the choice, right? If Dillingham said, "Hey, I'll come," and Biff says, "Hey, I'll stay and do the interim thing," you take Dilly, right? You take him. But I also think that a lot of people still aren't looking at the fact that the NFL is still going on, and there are a lot of very capable coordinators who wouldn't mind to come to a school like Michigan, get that head coaching experience. Now, the problem is they probably want to go back to the NFL at some point, which that's college sports, right? Like the Tom Izzos of the world just aren't, they're not around that much anymore. That the allure of the professional level is always going to be there. But I think Michigan might slow roll this a little bit and see if some of these NFL coordinators are interested too, because that you start getting some NFL coordinator names in there, and it could be a little bit different.
Yeah, and then you're also wondering whether or not Michigan is on a time crunch. I mean, I said something about that. I believe that there is a time crunch when you look at the transfer portal window that's coming up in about 2 weeks here, and it sure seems like if you're Michigan, you'd want to have your guy in place. And I think that there's a different mentality. Like, if you've got a guy you've zeroed in on, and there's a realistic possibility it can happen, you got to pull the trigger. But if you're not exactly thrilled with what the feedback is and kind of where you stand in this coaching search, like, that's where I think, do you need to be in a rush to bring the next head coach in here when you've got a Biff Poggi sitting there? I guess there's a debate there. But to me, this is, and I know that a lot of football fans don't want to hear this, because really the only focus is like football. How many games are they going to win? Who are they going to get? Like that type thing. I get that. But I think what's going on within the program and really within the whole athletic department at this point is bigger than just wins and losses on Saturday. I think that there's a real issue within the athletic department, and it feels like a moment where it's time to just kind of look inward and make some tough decisions. Let me say this: I don't think Sharon Moore should be the last person to lose their job as a result of last week's debacle, disaster, whatever you want to call it. I don't think Sharon Moore should be the only person who loses his job. I think that there are other people within the athletic department who are probably going to be on the chopping block, and we'll see what this internal investigation uncovers. Seth Scott from the YouTube page, he says, "Go Blue, let us bald people unite against bad and overused bald jokes." I've read that there is a possibility of a coaching hire. Yeah, I mean, it's possibly, sure. I mean, I don't know. I can tell you that Michigan is actively searching and looking and making phone calls and trying to get to that spot. But I just, anybody who's reporting that anything is done or signed at this point, I haven't heard anything from any credible source that Michigan is there. To me, what I have heard sounds like Michigan is in the phase right now where they've got a list of names. They know generally who's interested, who's not interested, who their top candidates can be. And now you got to go through the rigors of that process. And in addition to these guys, whoever's available to you being great at, coaching the game of football, you've also got to do the background check. You got to make sure that these guys are squeaky clean and that there's no shitstorm that could be waiting. Can we talk about like the shitstorm that could be waiting for the incoming coach, right? In terms of what could happen at Michigan as far as this investigation goes. But you also got to make sure you do your due diligence in this hiring process to make sure that you're not inviting more of that into the program. And so I think this is really one of those situations where you take your time, make sure you get it right. But Seth, I haven't heard that they're close to making any sort of hire at this point.
I agree with you. I think they're going to take their time and can't mess this up. Especially Ward, he's on the hot seat, right? I mean, if he survives all the crap that's swirling around him and he makes a bad hire, he's right back there. And, I think he makes decent money. Probably wants to keep it.
Talk about another guy that can't afford any missteps. I think Ward Manuel, hot seat, whatever you want to call it. Like this is a guy that just
Dusty May is keeping him hired right now. Michigan basketball is keeping.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about
it. Yep.
Lorenzo Cole from the YouTube page says, "Hail to the Winged Helmet family. I loved hearing the new president talk about the coaching search. Yeah, in case you missed it, Michigan's interim president last night put out a statement just regarding the internal investigation and sort of where their mindset is, what they're looking into, what the requirements are going to be for the next coach when you talk about integrity and making sure people do things the right way. Like I saw a lot of jokes and it was like, well, that takes Brian Kelly out of the running. So it just goes to show like there's no Urban Meyer that's coming at this point. It seems like that they are, their search is focused on the right things. They want to make sure they get the right guy who's going to represent this university with integrity and not bring more of the same of what we've seen over the last 3 to 5 years in this program. And I think that's really the right way to do it, Jared. I think that's where you have to start. Like I saw people bring up Kyle Whittingham, a guy who just stepped down from Utah. But the problem with a guy like that is he's going to be 67 years old. Yep. Now you're talking about what are you going to get? Like 2 or 3 years out of this guy before you're right back to trying to find another head coach. And so I guess that's part of how you got to look at this thing, Jared. I mean, what's the appeal? Sure. I mean, you talk about a guy like Whittingham who's been in college football for a while, hasn't had any scandals, has been pretty solid with Utah, but also the shelf life on that coaching tenure seems like it's going to be relatively limited. I mean, are you more in the boat that you want to see this be a younger guy, up and comer type guy, or do you want a long established type coach, like maybe like a Whittingham or somebody of that ilk?
I mean, my number one choice would probably be Kalen DeBoer. As much as I just kind of made fun of him, he's the best guy out there that's capable, shows he can recruit. I think his recruiting class this year got 4 or 5 stars. So and again, I get it, it's Alabama, but you have that NIL money at Michigan now too. It's not just Nick Saban paying guys and letting them have Ferraris, so Michigan can do that too. But again, I'm also of the mindset of just like Ohio State did this. They went through this. They went through a massive scandal. They looked for coaches. There was nobody out there. They said, Luke Fickell, you're the guy. And somebody made a comment about Michigan. Brian Block from YouTube said Michigan going 6-6. You know what Ohio State went that year? I think they went 6-6. And then the next year, they started one of the greatest runs in Ohio State's history. And if they hadn't been sanctioned, they probably would have won a national championship that year. They were undefeated once they got Urban Meyer. So they realized the importance of getting the right person in that seat and how important that was. They basically threw a year away with Fickell. They lost to Michigan, Denard, they broke the streak, everything. They let it all go for 1 year because they understood the importance of getting that right guy. And then they won how many in a row against Michigan, right? Like 9 in a row or some nonsense. So they did the right thing. They, and all these people saying, well, this is Michigan, we don't have to wait. That was Ohio State. They're a blue blood program too. And they realized, hey, we're going to wait. We're going to hold on for a year and get the right guy. And that's who we want. And I'm not saying there's a guy that'll pop up next year. I can't think of a guy that, that they obviously had their eye on Urban Meyer, but if the guy's not there, you don't just hire the freaking janitor so you can fill the spot. You know what I mean? At some point you just say, hey, that's not the right guy. Because you hire the wrong guy. And like I've said before, and you said it, we've seen that happen. And you go backwards. I'd rather have nobody at some point than some of the guys that people are talking about just nonsense. For what it's worth, Charles Woodson, awesome dude, knows a lot about football. Never even been a coach. What do you do? Why would we want Charles Woodson?
Tommy Jones, former linebacker, advocating for Charles Woodson to be head coach.
Come on, what are we doing?
Yeah, and Jared, this is something that you and I have talked about offline. I said it to you today, and it's where I'm at with this thing is like, I get it. If you're a Michigan fan, like you're supposed to be a fan of the program. You're supposed to think it's the greatest football program in the world. You're supposed to think that any coach would be, banging down the door to get into Ann Arbor. But Jared, like I told you, I mean, you look at this list of coaching candidates, and again, I think a lot of it is media driven, but I've got fans out there telling me when we're talking about certain guys, like, this is ridiculous. This is Michigan. This is Michigan. This is Michigan. Okay, fine, cool. But then you hand me a list that has Jedd Fisch, Kenny Dillingham, Jeff Brom. Let's keep going down the list. Like, these are not tier 1 guys. Kalen DeBoer is the closest name that I've heard in this search that's remotely close to like a tier 1 guy. The rest of these guys are tier 2. And so if Michigan is the job that you think it is, and I think that a lot of us have always viewed it as, I think that list would look considerably different. I think that you would see other names on that list, but there's a reason why the list looks the way it does. And I think it has to do with a lot of the things that have been surrounding the program and going on for the last 3 to 5 years. I mean, Dan Lanning is a guy that as far as I know, he's not in pursuit of this job. Marcus Freeman is not in pursuit of this job. Maybe Kalen DeBoer is going to be looking at Kirby Smart's not in pursuit of the Michigan job, to my knowledge. And so you're just not going to see a lot of tier 1 guys who are willing to make a lateral move at best to this program. And that's why the list looks the way it does.
Well, and a lot of people keep talking about find the Dusty May of basketball at one, apples and oranges. But you look at Dillingham then.
Find the Cignetti.
Well, Cignetti, right? But I'm saying with the Dusty Moore thing, Dillingham's young. He's outperformed the school he's at, right? Dusty May was young in his 40s, which is young to some people. My kids call it ancient, but whatever. But outperformed where he was at and moved up and energetic and all that. So maybe Dillingham could be the next Dusty May of football. But again, to me, past Dillingham, I don't want any of those guys. I really don't. I don't want the Vanderbilt guy. I don't want
Eli Drinkwitz,
67-year-old guy. I don't want Missouri's coach. Yeah, I don't want these guys. And that's what people are saying. We can't wait. So hire the wrong guy. That's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. So instead of waiting, you're going to sink the team for 3 years. Because the other part is if the team doesn't buy in, they're all going to leave in the portal anyway. So you're going to be back to shit. And now you got the wrong guy. You got nothing in the cupboard. What are we doing? Like Brom, didn't he get? It was Purdue's coach.
Do not tell me this is a tier 1 job and then follow that up with an argument for why Eli Drinkwitz is the guy. Like it was exactly. when you do that, you lose me at tier 1 job.
Yep, exactly. This is Michigan. We should get the coach from Ferris State. What?
What about Tony Anise? What are we talking about here?
My high school team went undefeated. That guy's nobody's even called him. What are we doing? Like, stop.
Well, and this goes in with Jill Gretsch from the man. I probably slaughtered that last name. I apologize. We'll just go with Jill from the Facebook page. She says, "Do you think there's any chance they leave Bill? Do you think there's any chance they leave Biff as the interim for a year to take their time with finding a good fit for Michigan until the investigation's over?" Is there a chance that happens? Yeah, I think that there's a small chance that happens. But honestly, I think, to my knowledge, Biff is the only actual interview they've conducted because he's already in the building. And obviously you want to talk to him about this job. But I just think that there is too much pressure, both internally and outside, to go and find your guy who's going to be able to lead this program. And unfortunately, I don't think Biff is going to be the guy. And it's a big debate. I mean, you heard a guy like Jake Butt come out and, put out a statement over Biff Poggi as being the guy. And even Jake Butt was getting like raked over the coals for his assessment on Biff Poggi's ability to lead this team. Yeah. There's a lot of people that think he isn't qualified, which is weird because, Jared, I feel like I remember during the season, when Sharon Moore was out and Biff Poggi was in charge, were there not a big chunk of people that were calling for Biff Poggi to lead the program? And now all of a sudden he's wholly unqualified to do it. So, Jill, I think that there's one part of me that thinks that could be the smart play, and it's something that Jared and I talked about before. If your first, second, third, fourth option are not available and you start to get down into like these tier 3 type coaches and you're in the Tony Anise type thing, if you're in like, your Jeff Brom type thing, I don't know. Like, is that a direction you want to go? Or are you better off letting Biff, along with, let's keep in mind, a staff around him, guys who have been coaching football for a long time. It's not like it's just all going to be on Biff Poggi's shoulders, right? We've talked about this before. What's the job of a head coach today in college football? You're managing the program, right? You're fundraising, you're out shaking hands, you're keeping the culture of the locker room intact as much as you possibly can for the way that things have gone. But could that be a good idea? Sure. If you can't get your first, second, third, fourth option, and there's an internal investigation going on, and you don't know who your AD is going to be, you're not really sure about the university president, maybe that wouldn't necessarily be the best thing or the worst thing in the world. But it does mean like you have to be okay with maybe next season doesn't go as well as you hope it could possibly go if Michigan really just takes hey, we're going to put it on pause for a second. We're just going to keep Biff there. We're going to get some internal things cleared out, and then we come back to the table next year and we look to see what the market looks like, who's available, who's in the realm of possibility to bring to this program. When I look at the current list of candidates, there aren't a lot of guys that really move the needle for me. Maybe that's just me being very surface level, looking at their records, looking at their recent success. But Jared, I don't feel incredibly moved outside of Kalen DeBoer, maybe Kenny Dillingham. But Dillingham is like the only reason that's exciting is because he's like borderline psychotic. He's young and you're not really sure what it's going to look like. So there's some intrigue there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and he took Michigan State transfer Sam Leavitt and turned him into a first round draft pick probably. And what happened? And I think the best thing that happened for us, if we really want Dilly, is Leavitt transferring, right? Because he's looking at it like, wow, I can't even keep a guy who I coached up, brought from Michigan State, coached up, got him to where he's a legitimate NFL pick, and he's leaving. So why the hell would I stay here? Because the other part about Arizona State is as good as he can be a great coach, but if the resources aren't there, he's 2 years, 3 years from getting fired from there. At least at Michigan, he knows, hey, I'll be the guy in the portal getting Sam Leavitt to come to Ann Arbor. I'll be the guy with the resources to get these guys. I'll be stealing players from Arizona State. Oh, that receiver's good. Let me give him some money. You know what I mean? Instead, he's on the other part. I think Michigan maybe hasn't put together their official offer to him yet. I think maybe they are looking at Kalen DeBoer as number one, right? And he's in the football playoff. So I think if once Alabama loses, I don't think they're going to win the Natty. Once they lose, I think the whole thing ramps up. I think they throw a legitimate offer at DeBoer. I still think he might say no. Now, somebody in the comments said when he loses, it'll be another 4-loss season. Things could change. I don't disagree. He could feel some heat in Tuscaloosa and say, you know what, now might be the time to skate out, start over at Michigan where I have an excuse that we're starting over. But I think it's those two guys, and I think they're going to make them an offer, Godfather type that one of them can't refuse. And I think he's going to take the job. It just makes sense at that age, 35 years old. Lane Kiffin did this, right, when he was young, went and got coaching jobs that he probably wasn't ready for, kind of swung and missed on a few, right, USC, things like that. Look at him now. He's at LSU. He's where he wanted to be. He swung and missed at a few.
Walked away from a playoff team to go to LSU.
And Dilly's young enough that if he goes to Michigan and unfortunately it doesn't go his way, he's got a lot of time and years to recover, and he's got a fat bank account while he's doing it. You know what I mean? So, as long as he doesn't do anything for cause.
I think that's a good point maybe one of the, and you didn't really know it at the time, but losing Sam Leavitt is probably one of the best things that could have happened in this coaching search because there's an NFL caliber quarterback that he had at Arizona State, but he couldn't hold on to because they couldn't afford to pay him. That's not going to be a problem at the University of Michigan. Nope. So I think he knows that. I think that's probably, look, even if he has interest in the Michigan job, I don't doubt that he still has significant interest in Arizona State too. And I think if Arizona State can show that, hey, we are willing to give you the type of resources here that you will get in Ann Arbor. If they can put that in writing and put that on paper, I think he would probably be more inclined to keep that job because he's got a lot of buy-in there. I mean, the fans seem to be in love with him. He kind of he knows the area, obviously went to the school. So I think even for Dillingham, it's going to kind of be a bit of an uphill battle for Michigan to pull him out of there. But if Arizona can't match what Michigan is offering, and I think it's a pretty safe bet that they won't be able to, although in today's era, you never really know. But if they can't match it, that plus the allure of just coaching at a blue blood program like the University of Michigan should be enough to pull him out of Arizona State for sure. CJ Frazier from the Facebook page, he says, is Chris going to be able to keep up with the comments? It's plus 150 right now for no.
Just a hater.
I don't think, I mean, that's a pretty safe bet right there. I'm doing my best. I think I've taken more questions tonight already than we've probably taken in the last two shows combined. So, we're talking about progress here, CJ. Yeah. Let's go to Ricky from the Facebook page. He asks, good question for you guys. He says, I was told when Sharon was hired that Harbaugh didn't take him to LA intentionally because he knew he was completely expendable. Does anyone agree with that take in hindsight? Jared, I do think that's an interesting question. I mean, Jim Harbaugh certainly purged the building. He took all of his top guys. He grabbed a hold Jesse Minter. He made sure he took Ben Herbert along with him as well, which I think was just a gut punch to pull that guy out of the building, because Ben Herbert seemed like a guy who was just built for college football and molding men, and to take him out of that environment, I think, was a travesty. But he's out in LA, and I'm sure that he's enjoying his work out there with Harbaugh. But what do you think of this question from Ricky, where he says, there's this suggestion there that Harbaugh knew that Sherrone was a guy who was expendable and wanted to leave him behind because of that? How much, I guess, credit or validity do you put in that?
We talked about this a few months ago, I believe, on the podcast. Remember, I said, why did it not raise any red flag? And this is before we knew all the other shit that was going on behind the scenes with Sherrone. This is when, we were trying to tell the fans, like, you can't fire Sherrone because he lost to Oklahoma just yet, right? I think it was back then. But I brought it up. I said, why wasn't there a red flag when the guy that was leaving took everybody but him and said he should be the new head? I would have been like, why, if he's so good and he's such an amazing up and coming guy, why aren't you taking him? If you're like, he's the most talented guy, why aren't you taking him? And nobody asked that question. And it seemed like almost like Harbaugh like forced Sherrone Moore into that position. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he did. I mean, he did. Right? He went to Ward and advocated for him and said this has to.
And he, on social media, he was saying he's the guy. In front of the media, he was saying he's the guy. Putting all that pressure on Michigan to hire the guy. Yeah. And it kind of handicapped their ability to go out and get a different coach. But I don't know, man. I in hindsight, Ricky, I wonder. That's what I'll say. I won't say I agree, because I don't know. If you ever met Jim Harbaugh, that dude is so quirky. I don't know if he knows what he was really doing at that point. He's
quirky, or is he calculated? I wonder.
I don't know. He might be a sociopath at that level, but I don't know. I think it's a great question, Ricky, and it's something that we discussed in the past. And
it's a fair question to ask. And I think that here you have Jim Harbaugh, who's a guy who I think is, think whatever you want about his personality or whatever. It's clear he knows what he's doing on the football field and as a head coach. I think that it's just interesting the way that it played out, the way that he advocated for Sherrone. I mean, dude, Sherrone Moore had a Jim Harbaugh bust in his office. Like, if you looked behind Sherrone Moore's desk, there was Jim Harbaugh's face in bronze, like right behind him. Like, it seemed like they had a tight-knit relationship, but also here's Harbaugh, a guy who seemed like he wanted to be at Michigan, but maybe didn't feel like he had the support of the administration, particularly during the sign stealing shit that he felt like he deserved, that he wanted some assurances that in case the NCAA handed something down, that the university was going to have his back. And it seemed like it was trending that way. And then all of a sudden there was a 180 and it all happened real quickly. And before you know it, Harbaugh's gone and he's advocating for Sherrone Moore on his way out. Was that Jim Harbaugh's way of trying to like put the program in the best possible position to succeed? Or was it Jim Harbaugh's way of saying, okay, look, you guys aren't going to do what I need you to do. You want me out. See how things work with Sherrone Moore. I'm going to go ahead and advocate for him. We'll see how well the program does there. And then maybe then you'll find out, what you let walk out the door. And I think a lot of people, despite some of the shenanigans that went around the program, I mean, there's no denying that Jim Harbaugh, like, you let a guy like that walk out the door and you see what he's doing in the NFL. And it's just, those types of coaches don't come along very often. And, it's all speculation, Ricky. I mean, you can spend a long time on that question and debate that and speculate that. But I think after the way the last two seasons have gone, it's fair to at least ask the question: why did Jim Harbaugh have very little interest in taking Sherrone Moore with him?
There is, but I got to say something, and people are gonna sure DM me on all this nonsense and anything. But I've said it before. I did a lot of work with Champion Circle Valiant in the NIL world, right? So I saw quite a bit behind the scenes of how NIL was operating. Jim Harbaugh was not going to operate NIL the way that other teams operate NIL. He was never going to do it.
And just to elaborate that, Jared, if Jim Harbaugh is still the head coach, Bryce Underwood is not in Ann Arbor right now.
He's not in Ann Arbor. He's not in Ann Arbor. I don't think Savion Hyder's in Ann Arbor. I don't think a lot of these Carter Meadows. I don't think you pull Ty Haywood. I don't think Babalola comes. So his thing was, you come here because it's Michigan, because he believed that, back in 1984 when he was at Michigan, that this was the same place. This is Michigan. You come here, you prove it, you earn your money. And that's not going to work nowadays. It just isn't. And I have inside information, people talking to me about, they had high-level meetings about Bryce Underwood and said, listen, that's fine if that's your stance, But on this kid, we need to change that stance, and we need to pay this kid and bring him here. And Harbaugh was a hard no, and he ran that program, right? Like, you know, I don't know that Sharon Moore ran. Jesus, we know he didn't run the program now. He was busy doing other things, but he didn't have the grasp on the program like Harbaugh did, right? Where Harbaugh could go to a big donor and say, no, this ain't, I'm not doing it. Sharon wouldn't be able to do that. And so I think that he was just, it was best for him to move to the NFL. I'm glad he's being successful, but you're right. A lot of guys wouldn't be here right now. You know what I mean? Now,
yeah.
You know, and
yeah. So, I mean, but then again, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole because again, we've got questions we need to take. But you pound on the table about we got to pay this kid. We can't miss on this kid. We got to get him to Ann Arbor. We got to bring him here. You do the 12, 14 million, whatever the deal is. And then you don't bring in like a dedicated quarterbacks coach to develop him throughout the year. Like, what the hell are we doing?
That wasn't the question, Chris. That wasn't the question.
I understand. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to get off track here. Let's go to Marlon from the Facebook page. And for all the YouTube folks that are out there, I'm not skipping anybody here. I am just going in order of the questions that I'm saying. Marlon Ingalls from the Facebook page. He says, is it possible that our best candidate isn't actually DeBoer or Dilly, but maybe a Bryant Haynes or a Glenn Schumann, both really good DC? Yeah, so I'm not going to speak to those two guys specifically. What I will say is, yes, it's certainly possible that the best candidate isn't one of those two guys. Again, like this list that we're working off of DeBoer and Dillingham, and, you know, it was Jed Fish like a few days ago before it wasn't, and some of these other names that are popping up. Like, I don't know where these names are coming from exactly. I think that there's a lot of things that are floating around in the media, but based on some of the reporting that we get, like some of it just kind of seems sporadic and sometimes inaccurate. And so again, I don't know where these names are coming from, but Marlon, to answer your question, like it's entirely possible that when the big announcement comes that Michigan has made a head coaching hire, that it isn't Kalen DeBoer or it isn't Dillingham or it isn't some of the other names that you've heard, that it's somebody completely that like kind of came out of left field. Now you might start to see some things leak before then, but Jared, I would say it's entirely possible that neither one of those guys are named Michigan's next head coach in the coming days here.
We know nothing. That's nothing. What you said basically, and I'm okay with that because you can speculate all you want. And John Gruden, Charles Woodson, what if Tom Brady comes? Like that's fun, that's clickbaity. But the reality is nobody knows anything, and I think I don't think Michigan has thrown bags at people yet. I don't think they've even made offers. Like you said, they probably haven't even interviewed folks yet. I mean, guys are playing in bowl games and college football playoffs, and like NFL coordinators are still trying to make playoffs or solidify that. Like there's a lot of stuff. Football is still happening. And so you're trying to pull a guy and you know, and here's the thing, like everybody's kind of, you know, well, Kalen DeBoer's not making a decision, blah, blah, blah. 3 weeks ago, somebody did make a decision, Lane Kiffin, and he got eviscerated in the news media for making the decision, right?
Dude, like, he had fans at the airport waiting for him to board the plane while they were giving him the middle finger. There were people
put his clothes outside his office in the parking lot. Like, right. You know what I mean? Like he broke up by text, right? Like, yeah. So there's that too, right? So you destroy guys for making the decision. Michigan needs to hire somebody. Their football's still going on, guys. Like, calm down. You know, it is what it is. But I know we want to get somebody now, and I get what you're saying with the transfer, huh?
Nobody's going to be calm in this situation. That's just not how things work.
Everybody needs to calm down, man.
It's not going to happen. Brady Gallagher from the Facebook page says, do you see us hiring before the end of the month? You know, I think in an ideal world, yes, but
2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks. And I said that, you know, a couple of days ago on social media that I think that the window for Michigan is within the next 2 weeks. And we know that these things, like once you zero in on somebody and there's mutual interest and you start hammering out the details, like you can get from point A to point B pretty quickly. If you're Michigan and you have the resources that you need and all of that stuff, like, yeah, you can get it done. It's just, it's this transfer portal window that's going to open up. Now, it's also worth noting that just because a player enters the transfer portal doesn't mean they have to transfer. You can elect to stay with, you know, if you're a Michigan player and you enter the portal, you can elect to come back to the University of Michigan, assuming that, I guess, that whoever the head coach is wants you back. But I would think it would be the most advantageous for Michigan to have their next head coach in that seat before the transfer portal window opens up. I think January 2nd, is it? Is that when it opens?
And yeah, and Arizona State plays on the 31st. So, you know, there's that. for what that's worth.
So I think, do I see it happening? Again, if I were a betting man, I would say yes. I would say Michigan names its next head coach within the next 2 weeks. I don't think this thing drags out beyond December 31st. Jared, are you in the same boat, or do you think this thing's going to go a little bit longer?
I'm hoping that we're right, because
you got to put money on the table, though. You got to put money on the table before the end of the month. Does Michigan name its next head coach?
Yeah, the portal's what, January 2nd? You said it opens
January 2nd or January 3rd.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they'll have them hired. I think they'll be hired before the portal opens. How's that? Like, I
Fair
think
enough.
They understand the importance of having somebody in place for that portal, because we talked about it right before this all exploded. This portal is big for us. We got to get some receivers. We got to get some guys. We got to get some defensive linemen. We got to get some guys.
That's the whole other part of this equation is that pisses me off, because until this happens, until this coaching hire happens, talking about adding people via the portal, talking about next year, talking about the roster, like none of it matters, because you don't know who on the staff is going to be here, who on the roster is going to be here, what the offense is going to look like. You don't know anything about next year. And so until Michigan makes this hire, you can't really think about anything like that. And Jared, that's a good point. Like, it's not just about potentially losing guys to the portal, but there's also guys that you're going to want to get out of the portal. Yeah. And if you're still trying to figure out who your head coach is while the portal is open, I just think you don't want to be in that position. Like, we should be sitting here talking about Michigan loading up for next year, specific targets, who they've got returning, like all of that stuff. And instead of doing that, everything is just in limbo while you wait for Michigan to make this decision. And so for that reason, Brady, I think absolutely. I think if you're Michigan, you got to get this thing done by the end of the month. But then it goes back to what you and I were talking about. It really matters, like, who's available and who's willing to say yes. And if the people that are willing to say yes aren't necessarily your tier one guys, the guys that you want, then I think it gets a little bit dicey in terms of what decision you make moving forward. And I hope that Michigan doesn't find itself in that spot. But again, the names that I've seen floating around outside of Kalen DeBoer, who's borderline tier one, none of these guys are a sure thing, and none of them really get me excited outside of Dillingham, who's a huge question mark. He's a bit of a nut job. Like, if you saw him going off on that referee, like, he's a guy who gets amped up. He's got a ton of energy. I think he brings inject some life into the program. Is he going to do well here? Is he going to win Big Ten championships, get him in the college football play? I have no idea. It's a crapshoot.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Blake Vandervest from the Facebook page says it's taken over his damn life. Yeah, I mean, I think all of us, it's just every day you log on social media, you're looking for some answers in terms of who's going to be the next head coach. And every day you go to bed hoping that you're going to find out tomorrow. It's like Groundhog's Day in a lot of ways. Darren May from the Facebook page says, how confident are we versus Texas with the head coaching issue aside? Jared, you and I talked about this on a previous show, talking about that Texas game, about, the intrigue that we feel as far as what this offense is going to look like. Just to reiterate, there's a lot of people who, put the offensive struggles on Sharon Moore. They weren't quite sure. Is it Chip Lindsey really guiding this thing? Is it Sharon Moore's influence? Things just kind of look stuck in the mud a lot of the year. So I think in terms of intrigue, how this team is going to look against Texas, like, the intrigue is absolutely high. But I guess in terms of confidence, Jared, where is your confidence level against this Texas team?
I mean, the good news is that we've had a young team all year, so we're not going to have a lot of high caliber guys sitting out. On the defensive side, we are, but I've also seen Texas has like 7 or 8 guys have already said that they're sitting out. So these games, it's a crapshoot. You got to wait. I mean, if I'm going to bet on the game, that's what I do. I'm betting the day of, because I don't know who's playing, right? And I'm telling you, that Vegas line's going to move and switch. And bottom line, you got Bryce Underwood going against Arch Manning. The rest, we'll find out. But we do know offensively that, we have 6 to 8 guys that have good snaps counts and have played quite a bit this year, and they're going to be there on offense. So, including Jordan Marshall. So,
you're going to have your starting offensive lineman. You're going to have Bryce Underwood. You're going to have
we know that, right? That's the beauty of us playing these young guys all year. They're not sitting out. Like, they still got 2-3 years left. So, I can't even talk about the Texas game, because it's just, you don't know who's going to play yet. Guys are still opting out. I don't know that anybody's officially opted out for Michigan yet. You've got rumors, but I don't think anybody's released a statement yet, other than the guys that went in the transfer portal, a couple of them. But
right, yeah, nobody, nothing official on that side. I mean, in terms of like where my confidence is at, I feel incredibly confident, because I think this team is going to be playing probably as loose as they've played all season long. I think that, Jared, you had mentioned this on the last podcast. You talk about a football team that's excited to get back on the football field and just play the game of football.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see a Michigan team that is real excited to be playing football, and how that translates in terms of, win, loss, what the final score is, I don't know. But again, the intrigue with Chip Lindsey fully running this offense and without the influence of Sharon Moore in this program, what things look like, I feel pretty confident that we're going to see a Michigan team that, is moving the ball efficiently, is playing free, is playing excited. Maybe we could see Bryce Underwood on some design runs, some things like that. Like, I feel pretty confident about their chances against Texas coming up here in a couple weeks. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and the other part too is, some of the things you've been hearing about, Biff said, hey, they're upset, they're betrayed, they're hurt, and that's obviously true, right? They're going to be. But if the other part's true, that we've been thinking that maybe Sharon's taking over the offense, not letting coordinators do their jobs, these players are going to want to come out and prove that, one, you screwed us over, you lied to us, you weren't the person who you said you were, and you've been doing this all year to us, so we're going to come out and play football the way we've wanted to play football.
Right.
And what if you see a 42-14 just ass whooping? And then now we're all going to be like, you son of a bitch.
Well, you know how that's going to work. A lot of people will discredit it. It's bowl game. Texas lost all these, but you can't really.
They got their starting quarterback. They still got Arch Manning out there.
Yeah.
They got the dude that was going to win the Heisman this year.
And when you talk about player motivation, I've said this before, I don't think there's another guy on staff who's more excited for this football game than Chip Lindsey. If what we've been hearing is true, that Chip Lindsey has sort of not been able to do everything he wants to do and has had to operate his offense within Sharon Moore's framework. Without Sharon Moore's framework there, if Chip Lindsey can go and do some of the things he's wanted to do all season long and gets to do it against Texas down in Florida, I think he's going to be pretty jacked to because
you said
he's also auditioning, right? He doesn't know. Chip Lindsey does not know where he's going to be. Biff Poggi doesn't know where he's going to be. Wink Martindale doesn't know where he's going to be. I don't know that Wink Martindale cares as much. I mean, he's been doing this for a long time. He could probably retire and be all right. But I think Chip Lindsey wants to stick around. And whether that's in Michigan or somewhere else, I think it's imperative for him that the Michigan offense looks pretty solid against Texas. So I'm excited to see what.
I agree with you.
Let's see if we can get some more questions here.
I'm with Tyrone, though. He made a comment. If Chip throws one damn bubble screen that whole game,
then you know what?
We know.
All the everybody blaming Sharon. Nah, it was
the
you.
Scooby-Doo thing, right? You take off the Sharon and it's Chip. It was you the whole
time. First play right out of the gate is a bubble screen to Morgan. Samaj Morgan bubble screen, loss of 8 yards. We're like, damn it.
A backward pass bubble screen that he drops and they take to the house. I knew it.
Oh my goodness. Let's go to Lucas Hicks from the Facebook page. He says, do we rebound or fall off for a few years again? That's an interesting question, because I thought about this a little bit. We're sitting here kind of wondering who the next head coach is going to be. And it's like, we know what the expectations were after this regular season going into next year. It was playoff or bust. The seat was warm for Sharon Moore when he was still in that position, but we all knew what the expectation was for next year. It was playoff or bust, right? And so now that we're sitting here in the midst of a coaching change and we don't know who that's going to be, and we're not really sure who Michigan's going to be able to retain on the roster, I guess, Jared, is it too soon to say that the goal and the expectation for this team next year has not changed, that regardless of who that person is, it's still playoff or bust, that no fall off, regardless of who they bring in, is going to be accepted?
Yeah, I always operate in what right? That's a military thing. You don't assume things. You say, this is what we got right now, and this is what we're going to do with it. So as of right now, yeah, I think the guy that comes in, he's still got that talent. Hopefully they can hit something in the portal. But, I mean, with the team that you have right now, the experience, the talent of those recruiting, 100%. Now, mass exodus, okay, now we can lower that expectation a little bit. But as of right now, and again, firmly believe that whoever even entertains this job, again, if I'm Dillingham, my first question is, what's Bryce Underwood's cell phone? I'm going to need to call Bryce. I'm going to need, you know what I mean? Hey, gauge the team. I'm going to sit down with Biff Poggi, who clearly has you called him the glue guy. He's got that locker room. I'm going to sit down with Biff and the players and have Biff advocate for me. And then I'm going to come in and say, hey, I'm here to make sure that all your dreams come true. You guys can get to the NFL. We're going to bring in great people to surround you. we're going to let the scandals die, and we're going to play football at Michigan. You know what I mean? So I think I just saw that right there. So
I think if you're Dillingham, it's, you've heard of a guy named Bo Nix, right? You saw what he did in that Oregon offense. I was the OC there. Like, I know how to develop quarterbacks. I know how to run a high octane offense. I know how to win football games. Big 12 coach of the year last year. So like, there's a lot he has to offer. But yeah, Lucas, I would say. Yeah, I would say right now, as of now, I don't expect any fall off. I think that the expectation for next year and the following year should be the same. There are enough resources here, and if the players remain that we think are going to stick, this is a playoff caliber team, and regardless of who takes that spot, that should be the expectation.
Yep, 100%.
Let's go to Linda Jomanson, I think is how you say that. Linda Joe Manson. Probably that's more likely. See, these YouTube names really throw me off. I don't know. It's got a middle.
Joe Manson?
Linda Joe Manson. We'll go with that.
Linda Joe.
She says, is there any way to the possibility or any way to possibly hiring Kyle Whittingham even for a short 3-year or so contract? Yeah, we talked about that earlier in the show. I mean, is it possible? Sure. He's, the biggest benefit to him is not only is he a solid head coach, but he hasn't had any scandals for the duration of the time that he's been a head coach. He's had some success. He's done a lot with, when you can win at a place like Utah and kind of guide that program for as long as he did. I think that there is some appeal to that, especially given where Michigan is at right now with some of the things that have happened. But Jared, I'll say it again. I don't like the idea of bringing in a guy who's going to be 67 years old and putting him on a short-term contract, because I think it's once again, like, even though you've got that 3 years, something's coming on the horizon, and it just gives you another reason to sort of doubt.
I'm just saying.
That's foul play. You know that something is coming on the horizon. You know that it's not going to last long. And I think that gives teams another way to, negatively recruit against you and question the stability at Michigan. I think the best thing you can do is hire a guy that you can get a decade plus out of. I mean, dude, you bring a guy like Kenny Dillingham to Ann Arbor, you can get 20 years out of that deal. Plus, if it works out well, and
and that's
opportunity for you to be a legend. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. You can't bring a guy who's got the Grim Reaper riding with him. Come on, dude.
I had no idea you were such an ageist. My goodness.
Dude, if you and I make it to 67, come on, bro. We'd be lucky.
I'm expecting.
That's our odds of making it there. 50-50. At best.
Oh, Cody. Good to see you in here, Cody. Cody Richter from the Facebook page. He says, is there a chance they already have their coach and they're just waiting to announce? No, I don't think so. I don't think they've had enough time to really go through that process. I mean, the search firm that they hired, that was a process in and of itself to just go through and have conversations, gauge interest, and kind of, maybe even get a surface level understanding of what the numbers would be, what it's going to take to get those guys there. And so this is certainly going to be a process. And some of the guys that reportedly are top of the list, Kalen DeBoer and Kenny Dillingham. I mean, these guys are also preparing for a bowl game. Kalen DeBoer's got a game on Friday against Oklahoma. There's a lot going on right now. So if you're Michigan, you've got to try to navigate that within it. I think that we'll see what happens on Friday with Alabama, Oklahoma. But yeah, I don't think they're even close right now to being in a position where, they're ready to make a hire. I think they're still on the front end of this thing.
And I think it's so hard these days, to like keep a secret like that. Are you kidding me? I mean, this whole thing's been leaked. This whole debacle.
Somebody somewhere, a regent would have leaked it already. Yeah,
there's no way in hell. This was you'd see some smoke for sure.
Yeah. Let's see here. This one is actually from my daughter, from Sylvie. She says, how many football players have you met? Love, Sylvie. A lot of them. I think quite a few of them. Jared, you and I both. I mean, we've, you talk about the national championship run. I mean, we met all of those players. We were around a lot of those
helicopters with them, and
flew in a Chinook helicopter with Mozzie Smith and Colson Loveland and Mason Graham and all these guys who were, it was so all of them I think would be the answer. Now this newest team, like I don't really have as much of an investment there. I haven't met a lot of those guys and haven't really done some of the things that I was doing, from 21 to 23. But in terms of like, some of the guys that brought a national championship to Michigan, all of them. And it was pretty cool. Yep. Matt Kirby from the Facebook page. He says, well, I should have screened this before I threw it up.
Oh, dude. And we're going on a break.
It's already on there though. So I feel like
Nope. No, you run. We can go to the next one. Way to go, Matt Kirby. Way to drop a landmine in
Matt
there.
Kirby from the Facebook page asks, will there be a snow bunny clause in the next coach's contract? How dare you, Matt Kirby? That's all I'll say. That's my answer to that. How dare you? Incredibly inappropriate. That was from Matt.
You picked it. You didn't even read it?
No, I just saw.
What are you doing?
I just saw the question mark and will there, and I don't know.
You're like, oh, Will, that's how a question mark starts.
I don't have time to read everything. I don't have time to read.
It's like 10 words. This is.
Hey guys, do you think
you're really falling apart here? I apologize to the fans.
I guess here's a relatively fair question. Colin James Cronkright from the Facebook page says, "Hey guys, do you think Kenny Dillingham gets how big Michigan versus Ohio State is?" Yeah, he calls him a kid. I mean, he is in his early 30s. I guess you could call him,
right?
Yeah, I believe
35?
so. That's the other thing, man. A 35-year-old guy coming in here and taking over this program, that also feels like it's just I don't know. There's a
35-year-old me couldn't run the Michigan.
There's a lot of big egos in Ann Arbor, and you got this 35-year-old energetic Kenny Dillingham with no connections whatsoever, just coming in here and is like, I'm just going to do shit the way I want to get it done. I don't know if how does that go over?
Probably work perfectly.
Probably actually would, but Willie fully appreciate Michigan versus Ohio. Like, this is a concern that I think a lot of people have brought up, like this idea that it's got to be a Michigan man because only a Michigan man fully understands. I think if you've been coaching football and, especially if you're coaching college football at the D1 level, like, you understand Michigan versus Ohio State. You get what that game's all about. Now, I get it. It's a different animal when you're in it and you're coaching in it and you get to see it up close and personal, but I don't have any I feel like Kenny Dillingham is the guy that would come in here and on day one would be all in on Michigan, Ohio State, and would make the Buckeyes be happy to make them his arch rival. So I don't have any concern there. Jared, is that something that worries you, bringing somebody from the outside?
No, it's called the game. Like, everybody knows what that is, right? Like, my mother-in-law knew because she would always have Thanksgiving on the game, and I stopped going, ended up getting a divorce. My life turned into shambles because of the game. But yeah, I shouldn't have said all that out loud.
CJ Frazier, he says, Matt Kirby, if there's that snow bunny clause, I am not taking the job. Okay, all right, fair enough. CJ Frazier's out of the run.
I don't think there was any risk of you taking the job, but way to stand strong on that.
Let's see here. A lot of people saying that they're sick of the fake news spreading around about the head coaching search. Yeah, I get it, but look, there's analytics are a part of this, and we live in a real strange time on social media where you can be anonymous and you can just say shit and you can make fake quotes. Hell, there was a picture of Sharon Moore's mugshot floating around for days on social media, but I knew it wasn't real. It was AI generated. Unfortunately, we got the real thing yesterday, finally came out. But yeah, it's real hard to decipher what's real and what isn't. And so if there's any pat on the back I want to give myself, I feel like I've been plugged in enough to where I can sort of gauge what's real and what's not and know where to look and where not to look. And so again, if I put it on the winged helmet or if I'm putting it out on social media, my hope is that I've earned the trust to where, if I put it out there, it's real, or as real as anything can be in this world at this point.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you and I do talk a lot about a lot of stuff that we see, and we're like, dude, that no.
Yeah.
We had heard rumors from people about the Sharon thing, and we were both like, man, you can't say nothing about that yet. And turns out,
if I just wanted to if I didn't care at all about the reputation of this platform, and I just wanted to try to make as much money off of it as I possibly could, there's a lot of shit that I could be throwing up on there that I'm not going to do it right now. Weeks ago, there's a lot of stuff floating around that's just, I don't know, man. You never really know, and it's from questionable sources. Justin Tigner from the Facebook page, he says, do you guys even care about the Quorum Stallions LLC story that Spiro is allegedly working on? Spiro, you're referring to this Justin Spiro guy that I guess he's
can't
a
afford to go to Disney. Is that the one? Can't afford to
doing that. I'm not doing that.
I will.
He's a Michigan State guy that I think is devoted his life to bringing down the Michigan football program.
Doing real well.
He's working on something with this Pablo. Is it Torre? Is that how you say his last name? Justin says, I'm sure he has something. He's been right about a few things with Michigan the past few years, though. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where this guy has sort of made a name for himself going after Michigan. It's his thing. It's what he does. And I think a lot of people in Michigan circles and particularly in the media have tried to just like disregard him and sort of blow it off and invalidate some of the things he's doing. But, it's unfortunate because Michigan has given this guy some credibility through the things that they've done. And so, yeah, I don't know. Is there something coming? I know I've seen some things that he's said and some things that he's pushing, and it sounds like he thinks there's something else that could be coming out or something else that they're working on. How much do I care about it? At this point, I don't, because like I've said before, it's hard to tell what's real and what isn't. But Justin, you're right. He has been right on some things before and more accurate than we've heard from people within Michigan circles. Whether or not that was because they didn't have the information or they had it and they just didn't want to report it, I don't know. But I'm not a big fan of anything that gives this guy legitimacy. And unfortunately, the events of last week have done just that. And so when he's out there saying these things, like, does it make me raise an eyebrow? Sure. That's about as far as I go with it. Jared, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, we talked about this a couple of days ago, remember? And I ran it through my good friend, Mr. GPT, and he said, bullshit. Basically, if this is real, even if it is real, the way that NIL has changed the game, it would be so hard to do anything. Like, is it even illegal for them to have a LLC together as a staffer and a player? I don't know, because you got, you have all these donors that in the past you couldn't do things with. Now they're all over the place. And I think the NCAA would take one look at that and say, we've already been in that swamp. And we didn't come out the best, right? The NCAA didn't even really get much out of all that investigation. $30 million is the biggest thing they could throw at a school that throws $30 million away. Like Portnoy said, we found it in the ashtray. But I don't think it's going to be, man, maybe Blake Corum was selling vacuums with Stallions, and that's how he was eking out a living while he was also making $2.1 million via NIL. Grow up, man. I don't think there's anything there. He had his own NILs or his own LLCs. He was running business with his father. I talked to him about it. They were buying houses, refurbing them, keeping them. I actually picked his brain on a few things because I owned an Airbnb at the time. He never tried to sell me a vacuum. So his LLC sucked if he had it.
Well, yeah, and all of that's fair, but I'll just say again, like at this point, you never know. I don't know what anybody's looking for. I don't know what's legal and what's not legal. I don't know. All I'm saying is when it comes to this damn football program, every time I think we're at the tail end of something and we can finally move forward and get the bullshit behind us, another big thing blows up. And it's like, again, it's not a tiny thing. It's like these are big things that keep happening. And so, is it possible something else could be coming? Sure. There's certainly no shortage of rumors floating around out there. But once again, there's an internal investigation for a reason. Some people aren't putting much stock into that because Michigan has hired this law firm to come in and they've worked with this law firm before.
Yeah.
We'll see what gets uncovered. But man, I really hope they get their shit together and we can spend time on these podcasts talking football, talking roster, talking what we want to see next year, what, things to be excited about, doing player profiles. But unfortunately, none of that is possible right now. Chris Epperson, I think it is, Epperson, from the Facebook page says his sources, who are very reliable, told him Urban Meyer and Nick Saban are joining forces at Michigan. I was told there's also a legendary defensive coordinator coming. Yeah, you're getting a lot of shit of that, like that on social media. Just sifting through all the shit is...
yeah, it's a lot of shit.
It's a full-time job. It's a full-time job. And, it's the other thing where, like, these people who think they're slick, like, I think this whole thing is pretty played out, but like, you just kind of say something's coming. And it's not just like the no-name sort of small-time guys. Like, you're even starting to get it from some of the bigger media guys who just like put the little eyeball emoji and like some sort of like hourglass thing or some hint that something is coming. All you got to do is put that out. And then you sit back and you wait for some shit to happen. And then you go right back to social media and you're like, see, that's what I was talking about. It is a flawless way to just portray yourself as an insider, but I think people are even getting wise to that tactic now, but it's not easy. Man.
People are catching on, just like when I told my ex-wife that I was going to do stuff around the house every weekend. She caught on and she moved out, but whatever.
I don't think this guy has any intention of cleaning. I'm out.
Yeah. Wow. Nothing works here.
Jeremy Ramirez from the Facebook page. He says, why not Woodson? I think that's simple. Woodson has zero coaching experience. That's
what?
So
good whiskey though. Good whiskey.
He does have good whiskey. And to his credit, he's a phenomenal ambassador for the university, for the football program. And I've said this before, like, should he be a head coach? Absolutely not. But I think that he should be somebody that's consulted about this job. Maybe like he's an analyst now, like maybe gauge and figure out like are there some guys out there that maybe we haven't thought of that Charles Woodson is aware of, that he thinks very highly of, that, he cares. You can't question his care and love for the University of Michigan football program. So I don't think that including him is a bad idea. And even having him involved in the football program in some capacity, whether it's as an advisor or something like that, I don't know what it is, but he's got a lot of stuff going on. I don't know that he's even wanting to drop it all for a coaching position, but that's why, Jeremy. I mean, you can love Charles Woodson. His resume as a player is undeniable. I mean, this is a Hall of Famer. This is one of the greatest, defensive backs ever to play the game, not qualified to be a head coach at this point in time.
Yeah, correct.
Oh,
somebody asked why you even took that question, but I have to tell them it's because it ended in a question mark. So if you guys want to catch Chris's attention, put a question mark at the end of your question. Otherwise, he thinks it's a statement.
And
very elementary here, guys.
Right. And some of these are statements that I see, like if it's like Justin Tigner from the Facebook page here. He says everyone's talking about a mystery coach. I bet it's John Gruden. I'm sure Dave Portnoy made some calls to get him an interview at a minimum. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's another guy who's been out of coaching for a long time. And Jared, we've said this now repeatedly, that being the head coach at the collegiate level now is more than just coaching the game of football. You're a fundraiser. You're a guy who's, you're doing a lot of the recruiting stuff. And I don't know that a guy like John Gruden is just really interested in those elements, those critical elements of being a head football coach. But I don't know. I don't think I don't know. I really have no opinion on it, just because I don't even think it's a realistic option. That's not a name that you hear in any real capacity. Let's see here. See if I can find another question mark.
You're literally not reading these. I'm reading all these questions. I'm actually DMing the fans back and answering them.
Are you?
No, I don't know.
Listen, man, I'm still
stay away from DMs or anything with Michigan.
If you want to know how bad this is, I'm still at 612.
Oh my goodness! You should just play the song. Just play one of the songs.
Jacob Morris from the Facebook page. He says, so why can't Michigan just pay anyone? Why is there not more tier 1 guys? Why not more NFL talents? I mean, Jared, I'll throw that question to you. We have had a lot of blowback when we talk about the Biff Poggi thing. There's a lot of people who just constantly pound the table and say, this is Michigan. This is Michigan. We can get whoever we want. Jared, that's a fair question. Why not just pay anyone? Why are there not more tier 1 guys who are being mentioned in this coaching search? Why do you think that is?
Because tier 1 guys don't move a lot. They're tier 1 guys. They get to stay where they're at, and they get to be tier 1 guys. Dan Lanning has everything he wants and needs at Oregon. Not to mention he's got Nike, the whole Nike there, right? Like, look at Lane Kiffin. Left Ole Miss, which is not a tier 1 school, I don't believe. They made the playoff this year. They did well. It took them a while to get them there. But he left and went to LSU, and that was a news story for weeks because tier 1 guys don't move around that often. And so it's hard. You get lucky if there's a tier 1 guy out there, or you can pull a guy like we got Harbaugh, right? He was kind of in between teams and had a little bit of, issue with the NFL at the time. And so we pulled him back to Michigan. He's alma mater. That we got lucky, right? That doesn't happen. And I to the why not more NFL talents? I think that I still firmly believe that they are looking at some of them. And I think that as teams get eliminated in the next couple of weeks, that they probably will reach out, I hope, to some of these up and coming offensive, defensive coordinators. But again, the risk there is that they probably want to go back to the league. And like Chris said, you're not going to get a 20-year guy, I don't think. I think you're going to get a guy who's going to try to win, build his resume, and hop back to the NFL, which isn't bad if you can keep him for a while. But tier 1 guys are tier 1 guys because somebody's already hired them and they keep them there.
I know, and I don't want to be back in that situation where every offseason it's like, is this guy, he's up for a coaching job? Is it, there's speculation about him going to I just don't want to be there. I understand that to a certain extent, some of it's unavoidable, but yeah, Jacob, the other answer to this question is why not more tier 1 guys? I think tier 1 guys are also probably pretty good at like understanding opportunities and the value of opportunities. And I think if you're a tier 1 guy, that means you've built something pretty substantial where you're at. And I just don't know if with that in mind, you make a lateral move to Michigan with all the other stuff that's going on there. It just seems like if you're a tier 1 guy and you're set, if you're a Dan Lanning, if you're a Kirby Smart, if you're a guy who's like in deep and you've got the buy-in and everything's kind of humming along and working the way it should, for those guys, I don't think there's enough appeal at the University of Michigan to even make that a viable option.
I agree. They might use Michigan to squeeze a little bit more juice out of the donors and the base.
Yeah, it's a leverage
I want a little bit more of this. I want a little bit more of that.
You know what? You might get the response if you're trying to leverage Michigan. The response you might get back would be like, "You want to make that move? Okay, all right, go ahead and make that move. Like we'll start. How hard is it going to be for Georgia to bring in an elite tier 1 head coach? How hard is it going to be for Oregon to go out and bring in an elite tier 1 coach? Like I think.
So you're saying that Oregon and Georgia are better than Michigan then? Because we're having a hell of a time bringing one
in their current state. Yes. Probably, in their current state, yes, I would agree.
In their future right now?
Yeah. So it's hard to say, man. Yeah, because it's just, you never really know. Like ideally, yeah, Michigan would be at the level, if not above those programs. But I think as it is currently, yeah, I would, if put it this way, if Oregon was open and Michigan was open and you had a tier 1 coach that was looking, I think they go to Oregon. If you're putting Georgia, I think you're going to Georgia. Like I just think Michigan right now, there's shit going on there, like you can't deny it, and I think
a little bit of stuff going on.
You don't even know who your boss is going to be. There's an internal investigation. I love Michigan. I love the winged helmet. I love the big house. I love the history. I love everything about it. Touch the banner, all that shit. But I don't like some of the stuff going on in the athletic department, and I think that's your biggest problem right now because the program is such an easy sell, and I think that's why it's such a tragedy because. If this athletic program and if this football program could stop dicking around and just doing the dumbest shit, they would be in a much different position right now. But unfortunately, here we are at the end of December looking for a head coach. And the things that led us to this point are incredibly disappointing. Jared, let me ask you about what's your time frame here in terms of how many more of these questions do you think we could take? We're at an hour and 11 minutes.
I saw one cool one that I think was very simple and nobody really just asked it. It was from Tyrone Gardner.
All right, let me get this one first.
Let's do this one, then I got another. Yeah, then another one. I want to.
Okay, but how much time do you have left? How much time do you want to? Do you have another 10 minutes? You got another 15?
Thursday night football starts. Yeah, no, I'm good, bro. I'm in my basement. Good? I've told you I'm divorced. My life is in shambles. This is all I have.
All right, we're gonna put in another hour. Another hour, courtesy of Jared Johnson here. Well, we finally got one from the YouTube page here. It's Mr. Medman 2277. He says, "What do you think he or she?" No, he. It's Mr. Although I don't know. It's assuming anything these days.
Yeah, you never know.
They are asking, what do you think of Penn State's new head coach? Will Michigan poach him? Of course, you're talking about, what's his name? Matt Campbell?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope.
I'll put it this way. If Matt Campbell was still looking for a job, I wouldn't want Matt Campbell. That's where I'm at on that. So, no, I don't think Michigan's going to try to poach Matt Campbell, and I don't think Matt Campbell has any interest in leaving Penn State.
Nope, I agree.
What about James Franklin, though? What if James Franklin hadn't taken that Virginia Tech job, was still out there? We give James Franklin a lot of shit. If he's still out there, is he a guy that's maybe on your list, Jared?
No, he did. No. Penn State had all the resources. Penn State had he showed that he couldn't do it. He's not on my list. I don't. Yeah. Plus, I'm never sure if it's actually him or if it's the comedian that's coaching. I don't know. The guy's maybe he wasn't even there.
Darren May from the Facebook page asked, "Would the Clemson head coach to Michigan be so horrible?" Talking about Dabo Swinney. Again, this is not a name that I've seen pop up. I'm not even sure that that Michigan has any interest in going that direction. Would it be so horrible? I don't know. Would it be horrible? No. Would it be great? I also can't really say that either.
He bucked the transfer portal. To me, guys who don't see the future and just say, "Well, that's not how this is how we're going to do it." No, things change, and if you can't be flexible and you can't change with the times, then you need to keep it moving. Like to me, and Dabo fought that forever, right? He as the transfer portal and all that, and he wasn't going to do any of that. And NIL, dude, look what happened to you, bro? Yeah, kind of fell apart a little bit, So I don't know.
Yeah, he's fallen off. I mean, it would be an opportunity to revitalize his career, but I don't think it's the best move for Michigan. And I think that's probably why you're not seeing that name pop up at all. Let me go through some of these.
Tyrone Gardner asked a question, though, and he said it's very simple.
What is it?
If you could pick a coach, who would it be? Everybody's available.
That's a question that I had on my phone that I wanted to ask you as well. And I think that's a fair question. Like, assuming that let's just play hypothetically right now. Any active coach right now, any retired coach, if there's one name on your list that you could bring to Ann Arbor, who's the guy at the top of your list? Jared, let me go to you first. I'm curious, who is that number one guy? Everybody's available, currently employed, retired, but you can bring him to Michigan. Who's that guy going to be?
Dan Lanning. 100%. I like him. He's youthful. He gets NIL. He's willing to get in the transfer portal. He understands building a program. He understands, the nuances that come with it besides just being the coach. It looks like he trusts his coordinators, right? He lets them design their plays and they run the game. And I mean, I think Dan Lanning's the guy. That would be the one I would take 100%.
Yeah. And
who do you got? You say something crazy.
No, but that's who it was. Dan Lanning's on my list. I think that he is relatively young.
Yep.
He's proven that he can coach at an elite level, that he can run a program the right way. I like the energy and the enthusiasm that he brings to the job. I think that he's great on the recruiting trail. I mean, I like everything about him. If it were up to me, like everybody's talking about, like, oh, you go make Curt Cignetti an offer he can't refuse. Like, if you were just going to go crazy and say, screw it, we're throwing the bag at somebody. And you got to get the best guy. I think you go to Dan Lanning and say, I know you got Nike money out here. I know you got everything you want. How much would it take, right? Like, everybody's got a price, and whatever he says that number is, you say, okay, here it is. Come to Ann Arbor. And that to me would be an ideal scenario. But I feel like, dude, we are just so far away from a Dan Lanning type candidate when you're looking at this list that it feels like a bit of a bummer. Now, it might work out. Like, full transparency, I wouldn't have been excited about Curt Cignetti at Indiana when they first brought him in, because I didn't know who he was and I thought he was a nut job. And it turns out that he knows exactly what he's doing with that program. And the proof is in the results there. I mean, just cranked out a Heisman Trophy winner, got that guy out of the transfer portal. So
first ever.
And it, so that means that just because we don't like it on the surface and maybe the name's not very appealing initially, it doesn't mean that it can't turn out that way. But right now, the list just isn't doing it for me. Kalen DeBoer is kind of getting me there a little bit, but even that is not like, I'm not overly excited about any of it, Jared.
Did you hear Kalen DeBoer is kind of getting you there a little bit? What are you talking about? Are we still talking about football?
I don't know. Are we? What were we talking about? Never mind. Lord.
Off the rails.
Just a little bit. Going to try to squeeze a few more questions in here since I only got 15 minutes worth of questions.
There's some funny ones. I'm caught up on like some people in this podcast, but there's some funny ones.
Well, yeah, I see a lot of questions about Charles Woodson being an option.
No, come on.
Let me see. I haven't read this all the way through. This is John. How would you say that last name, Jared? John Wachter? John Wachter? I like that. Let's go with Wachter.
John, let us know if we said it right.
Yeah. John Wachter from the Facebook page says, hasn't been any tier 1 movers. Kid on ain't it. Franklin got let go and not tier 1. Who did Florida get? USF coach or JMU coach? There are no tier 1 coaches moving to Michigan or anywhere except for maybe DeBoer. Yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at. Like, and I don't even view DeBoer as a. I think he's on the verge of becoming a tier 1 guy. If he can make a run this year with Alabama, right, in the playoff, and you look at what he did with Washington, sure, you could kind of put him in that tier 1 category, but I don't even think he's there yet. And I think that's the biggest. If you're a Michigan fan, like, you can't pound the table and say that this is an elite job. This is this anybody should want, and then not have any tier 1 guys on your list. Like, that just, I think the coaching list should tell you where this job is at right now.
Yep.
Right now doesn't mean that's where it is going to be in the future. It just means that's kind of where it's at right now. Oh boy,
I disagree with you. Enough with the doom and gloom, Tyrone says.
I'm not being dooming. See,
no, in the comments, I
got you.
The fans are having a little meltdown. Okay, listen, folks, Michigan football is going to be okay. We'll be all right.
If they can stop kicking around, they'll be all right.
Yeah, this is just football. It's just a game. It's some kids out there playing. Don't let it ruin your life. You know what I'm saying?
It's not like we click, like I end the live stream and then I go walk around my house and pace and I stress about Michigan football. I hang out with my wife. I play with my kids. It's not like it's all consuming, but I think that there's a lot of people who've gotten on me for like, why do you keep talking about this? Or why are you talking about the possibility that more could come? It's not, it's not helpful for the program that there could be this or there could be that. It's like, your anger is misplaced. It's not me, right? It's fine to be angry or frustrated with the program, but put your anger where it belongs. It's certainly not with me. CJ Frazier from the Facebook page asks, right now with everything going on, is Michigan a tier 1 job? I think that's a fair question, Jared. Would you still consider this a tier 1 job given the circumstances?
Yeah. I mean, the assets are going to be there, right? Regardless. I mean, you might have to go through a little bit of pain because we go back to when Urban Meyer took the Ohio State job. They were on a postseason ban. They were on recruiting limitations, and he knew that going in, but he also knew this is Ohio State. I can build this back, right? So whoever comes to Michigan has to understand this is Michigan. I can build it back. If massive sanctions come out or if anything else does come down, there's and selling it to kids and to parents. Hey, that was the other guy. Literally, he's gone. This is me. Right. This is how I run my program. This is how I do my thing. And this is how the program is going to be. So it's almost like a blank slate, right? I mean, you get to come in and say, I'm going to change the culture. The culture is going to be my culture now. You know what I mean? So,
I 100%. This is still a tier 1 job. I don't question that at all. It's just a matter of our tier 1 coach is going to want this tier 1 job. And I think that, look at the coaching.
They don't want to move from they're comfortable from. Like, I mean, money is something, right? I get it, but we're not throwing 20 million at somebody, and I think the other part too, is you've seen it a little bit, is Michigan starts to make a run at a tier 1 guy. That school just says, nope, no, we'll throw 2 more million on. You can stay right here. You know what I mean? And why uproot? You're successful. There's no tier 1 guys that are on the hot seat right now. There really isn't.
Yeah,
agreed. DeBoer might be a little warm with.
Might be the closest thing, but even then, I feel like the national media wants it to make it out like DeBoer is going to be on the hot seat. But then when you listen to Alabama fans on social media, they're pushing back on that, saying, "No, he's got us in the playoff. Like things are trending in the right direction."
Five stars this year. Yeah.
So. No surprise, national media narratives aren't quite lining up with what the local fans think. But again, everybody's got to drive got to drive, views and all that stuff. Nadeem Ahmed, I hope I got that right from the Facebook page. He says Jake Butler biased about Biff Poggi because he was teammates with Biff's son, Henry Poggi. The reason I brought this up, that might be true. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that. But the reason I brought this up is because this helmet behind me right here, this is Henry Poggi's helmet from the 2015 season, where Harbaugh brought back the award decals on the helmet or whatever. So it's got all the award decals on it, and I don't know.
Did you just admit to a felony? I think you stole a helmet, and
I stole it. Yeah, from
that worth?
I don't know. Whatever I can get for it. Yeah, are you offering?
That's a felony. I'm turning you in. I don't have room.
We should do. We talked about that, doing one of those shows where we kind of show all the little trinkets and things that I've picked up over the years. I've gotten my hands on some pretty cool things that I've been able to acquire legally. We'll put it that way.
Helmet not being one of them. That was an illegal acquirement.
That was an illegal acquirement. Now, I don't want to get myself in trouble here. Dave from the YouTube page says, just tell me who I will try to run out of time after a loss next year. Did I read that right? Just tell me who I will try to run out of time after a loss next year. I already got my see it should have.
You got to start reading these questions.
Am I
Let me read it back to you. Okay. Dave's here, 9723 says, just tell me who I will try to run out of time after a loss next year. I already got my see it should have been the other guy warmed up. Now do you get it?
I get it. I might have to use you as my interpreter here for some of these questions.
I have no idea what that question means.
You know what? Honestly, I still don't understand it. I'm just gonna skip. I'm sorry, Dave.
What's his profile picture? Was that a truck hitch like that? So many red flags. What is that? What is happening right now?
Oh goodness. Oh my goodness. No shade to you, Dave. It was just maybe I typed it a little bit too fast. Lord knows I do that all the time.
You didn't spell a single word wrong though.
It was all spelled correctly. It was just
great. It just didn't make any sense.
Gigi from the Facebook page says Biff needs to stay for many reasons, regardless if he's head coach or not. Yeah, I think everybody's on board with that, even if not everybody. I think most people are on board with the fact that Biff needs to stay and remain within the program. We've heard some of that feedback from players and parents. I think that there's faction of this fan base that wants to see a clean house. Lord knows I was there not long ago. But you also want to do what's right for the program. I think there's just a big fear that if you don't fully clean house, that some of this stuff that's been in there, it's like a cavity, right? You don't go in and just kind of get part of it. Somebody used that analogy that I can't remember who it was, but you don't just go in and take out like most of the cavity. You go and get the entire cavity out if you're trying to like get rid of the toothache. And I think that people are kind of looking at the Michigan football program like that. Some people that they just want a clean slate. They want a clean break. They want to start over and make sure that all the people in the building haven't been a part of any of the nonsense. And you might not agree with that mindset, but I don't think you can blame them. But Gigi, yeah, I would say we talked about it on the last show. I think it's Biff Poggi and Tony Alford. Those are the two guys that you want to absolutely keep in the building if you can. But I think that's going to be up to the new head coach and what they decide to do with their roster. CJ from the Facebook page says, do you guys like Underwood and Marsh? Do guys like Underwood and Marsh stick around after a 6-6 season with Biff as head coach? Well, that's the other part of it. They want to win.
I don't think they go.
Yeah, I don't think they go. Let me put it this way, CJ. This Michigan football team went 9-3 with their head coach missing in action for about 50% of the year, right? Because we know he wasn't fully focused on football. So with Biff Poggi being a part of the equation, does Michigan go 6-6 next year? No, but it also is a far more difficult schedule, and so you've got to kind of bake that into how things are going to look. But I think overall the point is, if Michigan doesn't reach the level of success that's expected, can you expect to hold on to guys like Underwood and Marsh? I don't know. That's a question in today's market, because that transfer portal is always going to be available to you. There's always going to be NIL money at another program. And yeah, guys want to come here and they want to get paid, but they also want to win at a pretty high level. And if they start to figure out that I'm not winning at the level I want to win, here's another program over there that's got their shit together. Now it puts everything at risk. And we love to think that guys are here because they love to be here and they want to be here forever, but that's not the real. It's more of a business now, and you've got to make business decisions if you're guys like that. And if Michigan isn't reaching the heights that they're expected to reach, you're going to have guys that you love, that you want to keep in this program, that have to start making business decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
man. I said 6-6 though. That's he was tying it to what I said with Ohio State. He's just saying,
oh, I got you.
That replicates itself. Would they stay? And yeah, thankfully, if they stayed, I don't think it would replicate. I don't think they would go 6-6 with the squad they have now and the guys they have coming in. I think Savion Hyder is going to be an impact guy. I think they keep him. Carter Meadows, good. I mean, they got some studs. And Babalola coming back, right? He would have been a starter this year. I think that the offensive line could be powerful.
Pam from the Facebook page, she says maybe they are waiting for the investigation to clear before choosing a coach. I don't know how you can do that. I don't know how long this investigation is going to go, but I think if they do it the right way, it's going to go for a little while, because there's a lot of different things you're going to have to look at. And I'm not sure that you can wait until the end of that investigation before you hire a new head coach. We were talking earlier in the show. I think you're on a 2-week window right now before you got to have somebody in that spot. So.
Well, and there's a lot of things you can bake into a contract, right? If a coach comes to Michigan and says, "Hey, I'm worried about the future," put a clause in. My buyout kicks in, and I can bounce if there is an investigation that you are not telling me, you're not aware of, and there's negative consequences to the team, where bowl bans, recruiting bans. I get some buyout, and I get the role, so I'm not tarnished hanging out here, or I have the decision to leave, the ability to leave with money. So I mean, there's ways you can get around that. I mean, come on. Michigan's got some smart people there. My daughter goes there. She's a pretty smart kid, but they got some smart people there that can figure these things out to entice people to come, and also give them, that parachute if they want to bounce out. If something does come down the pipe, like you keep saying, this whole program's going to catch on fire. So,
well, I'm not saying it.
That's what Facebook people are saying. You're saying
that's not what I'm saying.
Pancake Ninja.
Oh.
Eviscerated you. And
unfortunately, I'm not a paid cheerleader for the Michigan football program. If they want to put me on the payroll and they want me to come up here and blow smoke and sunshine and rainbows, like, I will gladly do that. And I have a price as well. So if anybody out there's listening, just reach out to me and I'd be happy to negotiate that contract. But I can't do that, man. And I think people understand that too. Like, I've never enjoyed that. You can tell when somebody's just saying shit because they think that's what people want to hear. Like, the only The only reason I want to do this, the only way that it makes it fun is if I can just come up here and say how I truly feel about shit. And either that's going to resonate with people or it's not going to resonate with people. But either way, when you hear me say something, I'm saying it because that's what I think and not because I think that's what you want to hear. I think that's what people want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we're getting to the end of it here. Jesus, we are now at an hour and 29 minutes. A lot of comments here. I see another question about the snow bunny clause, which I'm just going to skip over.
Even read it. Yeah.
Gigi with another one. She says, "What's the word about Kerry Coombs and his hire before Sharon was fired? Is he still coming? I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure. And if you're Kerry Coombs, like I don't know. Do you even want to be here? Like what a strange situation to come into a program and then have all of this stuff happen last week. So I haven't seen any reporting on it necessarily. I'm not really sure what the plan is, but we know that Michigan special teams this season was an absolute disaster. So whatever happens there, they got to make sure that they get somebody in that spot. But
yeah, if I'm him, I still come to Ann Arbor. Because
he's like that Will Smith. You ever see that picture of Will Smith on the final episode where he's just like he's in Schembechler Hall looking around and nobody else is there because it's all he doesn't know what to do. He's not sure. Fresh Prince.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. There's no better special teams job to take in the world right now because we were trash. I mean, if you punt the ball 16 yards, you're doubling what our punter did last year. You know what I mean? Like
I've got some eligibility left. I've got a leg.
I might go out there and kick some shit around,
We should do it.
Yeah,
we should do it. Lots of comments. I'm not seeing any question marks. Let me read this question quick.
That's how you're doing it. That's a question mark.
Bobby from the Facebook page asks, with Sharon gone now, do you think he might expose everything if there is more to expose? Yeah, I've seen this pop up a little bit too, that like, I don't know. The short answer is no. I don't think now that Sharon Moore is out and he's going through whatever legal process he's going to go through, I don't think all of a sudden he's going to try to like spill dirt on the University of Michigan to try to like save himself from something. I just, that's not going to happen. It's not like what he's dealing with is even NCAA related. And to be perfectly honest, I have not spoken to him, but I would assume that Sharon Moore probably just wants to like do whatever he can to minimize all of this stuff and just kind of have it fade away. I don't think he's trying to do anything where he's going to become this person to sort of get back at the program. I mean, I think if anything, he realizes that he made a lot of mistakes and he squandered a great opportunity that quite honestly, a lot of people didn't think he was qualified for. And so I think that he's probably doing everything he can right now to just get himself through it and get on to the next thing and move on.
Did you see the video of him and his wife walking out of the court?
Okay, listen, I don't think that's real. There was a picture that came up of him and his wife walking out of somewhere. But then all of a sudden that picture turned into a video. And I don't think that was
all these days. Yeah.
If you look at what happened with his hat, the brim of his hat turned and it was a little bit differently and his face kind of shifted a little. I don't think it was real.
You think the video was real or the picture was real?
I think the picture was probably real, but I don't even know. Were they coming out of a courthouse? Were they coming out of something else? Was that picture taken 2 years ago if they were out shopping or whatever? Like, I don't know. It's just, that's the danger with this stuff, man. People just throw shit out and they say, "Oh, look, this is what it is," and it's like there's no way to verify it. And if you're not really up to speed on all that stuff, it's easy to get tricked. I believe that video is AI generated. If you go back and look, something funky happens with his hat. But I did see the picture, and
I mean, even in the picture, she just, I mean, he's got it, AI generated or not. The nexus of that picture is that dude's got some shit to take care of. Personally,
no doubt.
I don't think he's on a revenge tour right now. Right, he's on a keep your mouth shut tour, sleep on the couch in the basement tour, try to figure out your life with kids, white. Like he's got a lot of other shit going on. So I don't think. Now, could he be deposed on some other stuff? Yeah, for sure. There could be a whole ass investigation. I mean, there's could be a lot of stuff. But like you said, he did. I mean, some of that stuff is Title IX. You know that you're talking about that he did. You know, with that.
Some of it's Title IX. Some of it is her. Attorney apparently saying that he had been abusive for a while. The stalking thing was a part. I'm like, again, I don't know, but these are things that have been said, things that have been published and reported on. So yeah, I don't know where that's going to go. Overall, Jared, I think you're right. And that's kind of where I stand, is I think he's just going to do everything he can do to get through this situation, quiet it down, move on, get on with his life, and try to like start to put everything back together. And that's going to be a process. It's going to take a while. Like Cam Newton was talking about it on his show, and one of the guys asked him, like, do you think Sharon Moore is ever going to coach again? And he was like, it's going to be a minute. He's like, maybe he can restart at some point, like at DeVry or something like that. And that's the reality of it, though. It doesn't mean like his career is completely over, that he'll never get back into it. But you, for sure, it's going to take years, right, to get back to that point. And you are going to have to start from the ground level.
Bobby Petrino made it back.
Dude, you might be coaching high school football for a little while, you know, and you might have to like go that route. But it's not that I hope the best for him. I hope the best for him. I hope the best for his family. I hope it turns out well for everybody in this situation, including the woman that he was apparently having an affair with. Like, I don't think anybody's lives should be destroyed forever for making bad decisions. I mean, dude, if that was the case, everybody in here watching, you, me, like if our lives were over for bad decisions we made, like we'd all be in some shit constantly. We'd never get out of it. Well, Jared, I've spent enough time for you to know that that's not
flawless.
True. You and I have made bad decisions together.
Together we did. Yeah, that's true. Becoming your friend was a bad decision. I'll tell you that much.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
Well for you. We are at 7:12 here. Try to get a couple more before we get out of here, just because people have been so active, and I am appreciative of it. Dabo is stuck in the past. Clemson wouldn't care. We're still talking about the Dabo stuff. Any coach, Marcus Freeman? No, Marcus Freeman is not part of this deal. Okay. I haven't read this whole thing, but it looks lengthy. And it seems like somebody might have had something to say. It's from the YouTube page. It says meme _ not you. It says, maybe when people stop making excuses for the bad behaviors, the administration will make a change. When their fans and donors aren't happy, they will change. Shouldn't this be the solution? Yeah, I think that's a part of it. Like, I think there has to be a realization that like, even the success of 2023 and everything that led to it and sort of that ride, like it does feel like feels like that was a long time ago. It wasn't that long ago, but it feels like that was a long time ago. And I think people are just, and I can say this. I mean, I spoke to somebody who works on campus, and I can tell you the mood from students, at least what their experience is people are tired of it, right? There were people that were doing like winter graduation or whatever, and there were news trucks that were still out on campus, and like this was the big talk, and like it was all everybody was talking. People are just tired of the bullshit. And if you're a Michigan person, if you go to Michigan, if you work there, you take a lot of pride in that university and what it's supposed to represent. And so when these things continually pop up and go against everything that you feel it should represent, like it does kind of take away from the luster of that degree. Now, not in the real sense that it's going to take you far in life, but you get what I'm saying? Like that Block M is supposed to represent something. And now when a lot of people see it, one of the first, second, or third things they're thinking about are scandals within the athletics and with the football program. And I think the people that just care about that university the most are not happy. So there's no question that I think, there's got to be some internal dialogue taking place and willing to, have some difficult conversations with people in the building about the way that you've done things or haven't done things, and do everything you can to not find yourself in this position moving forward again.
I got to defend you because you made a comment about we've made bad decisions together and you're not caught up. But your wife said, I need to know about these bad decisions you dudes made. And I would like to point out that she was sitting right next to us.
One of the bad decisions was sitting around a fire with you the night before that this the Blackhawk, the flyover? Okay, so that's a funny little story. So the night before, Jared and I are going to hop on a Blackhawk helicopter, and we're going to do a flyover of Michigan Stadium for the UNLV game. This is 2023. So Jared and I are going to get in this helicopter. I'm going to be hanging out the side of this thing so that I can film the flyover. And the night before, Jared and I, we stayed up all hours of the night pounding seltzers like real men.
We were drinking bourbon.
We were drinking seltzers for sure. Yep. I believe that you fell trying to get up to the stairs to get into the house at one point in time. We had made multiple trips up to the store to get more. And then when we woke up the next day, I didn't even know that I was going to be able to get on an aircraft. I felt, about as bad as somebody could possibly feel. So, decisions like that, certainly not kind.
That's just a Friday night. We're good.
Nothing like we heard last week.
I did fall up the stairs, though. That was an incredible accomplishment.
You did. You did. Yeah.
I was proud of myself in my moment of shame.
Michael David Shallop. Is that right? Is that good? Michael David Shallop. We'll go with that until
correct.
Somebody corrects me. He says, why not give a look at Tony Annese? His track record is unreal, and at least it's a bridge to a younger coach. Yeah, there's so many of these. I mean, you talk about
this is Michigan. Now I'll say this is Michigan.
You got a guy coaching at Ferris State. You got a guy who's well into his 70s or in somewhere near his 70s.
You're firing it up.
It's not the guy. It's not the guy.
Is he 70?
I'm gonna say
70.
I don't know. Google his age. He's got to be up there. What is it?
My Wi-Fi is trash right now. I'm stuck in the
bottom line is I've said this a number of times.
64.
Sorry then. Sorry, Tony Annese. Did not mean to be.
I was going to say there's no way.
Everybody over 60 looks about the same to me. So you start to get late into the 80s. Yeah. The bottom line is, don't tell me, and I've said this a number of times here, don't tell me Michigan is a tier 1 job. This is Michigan. Anybody should want to come here, and then give me Tony Annese from Ferris State.
Well, okay? Michael David Shallop might not have said that Michigan was a tier 1 job. He might be saying, hey, it's not a tier 1 job anymore.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe it's an Ohio State fan that's saying, like, look, maybe you should take another look at Tony Annese. Here, I don't know. I'm at 7:30. What time is it? 7:41.
Chantel says, now I remember how annoyed I was with the two of you. Again, she was there with us, so I don't want the fans thinking that we're just a bunch of knuckleheads. She was also there.
She's an enabler.
Rides to the store to get more White Claws.
She's an enabler. There's no question about it.
Horrible enabler. I haven't drank since.
Oh, well, I think we are at the end of this thing. Although this is an interesting thing that I'm seeing right at the end. I haven't read it all, but just from what I could read,
I did like this.
Matt Stife from the Facebook page. He's speaking to somebody else in the comments here. He says, Travis, I live in Phoenix, support and watch Arizona State. He's talking about Kenny Dillingham. He took a backup for MSI and turned that into a playoff appearance in January. Okay, yeah, MSU. Okay, that makes sense. He took a backup for MSU. Sam Levitt turned him into a playoff appearance in January. I think that's probably our second choice at the moment. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree either. I mean, I think Dillingham, if Dillingham is number 1 on your board, then I think I'm just concerned about that. Again, the upside is there. The energy is there. There's a lot to like about it, but it's all potential, right? There's not a long enough track record there where you can feel, I mean, even DeBoer, it's not like it's, he's got like a decade of experience, right? He
stumbled at Alabama, right? First year, they'd missed the playoff. Like, there's no guarantees with coaching because you don't know what can happen. There's second and third order effects now with that transfer portal open up, and kids, I think that again, to me, and if whoever the hell's leading this thing, if they don't take the coach in front of the players and try to gauge interest of like, all right, if we do hire this guy, who's, you know what I mean? I think it's got to be, I don't know. And that's Poggi too. That's Poggi telling the kids like, hey, you came to Michigan because it's Michigan. You came here for a reason. You came here for the program. Nobody came to that school for Sharon Moore. Like, I mean, he had a hand in a lot of these recruiting things, but they didn't come to Michigan because of a 38-year-old former offensive coordinator from Oklahoma who was a lineman that didn't make it to the NFL. That's not what sold these guys.
Guys liked him. I think guys liked him, but for sure it wasn't a Sharon Moore.
He wasn't a Jim Harbaugh. There was probably kids who came to Michigan because of Jim Harbaugh, because he was Jim Harbaugh, right? He had a legacy. He had, like you said, he had a background. Sharon Moore didn't have, he can't point to plaques on the wall. He had a bust of the guy who was the coach before him. He had so few trophies that he had a picture of the guy before him. So
I think now that he's not there, I could say it always struck me as weird. Like anytime I would see a picture, and like usually you do that after somebody passes, right? You have like a bronze bust of somebody who's like.
Have you ever been in Sharon's office? Like in his office?
No, but okay, no. Okay, there was a story I was going to share, but I'm not going to share it.
Don't make it. Whoa, that's weird. So I went in, I was in his office with some soldiers that we were going there to do an event, and we got to talk to the coach about it, and we were actually trying to get him to ride in a helicopter with us, and he wouldn't do it. But another odd thing that he had is this dude had probably 100 boxes of shoes all different sizes that he would just give to people, which was, to me, like, we couldn't take them because we're in the military. We're not allowed to take gifts. You know, he tried to give us some shoes. We did the right thing. He said, no, we can't do that. And these are collector's edition shoes. We walk out of there, and next thing you know, I'm rocking these shoes. We're in trouble, right? They know where they came from. But it was just in his office. And he's like, I just keep these shoes here to give to people. And it was just, it seemed kind of tacky almost to me. Like, what? Why? Can't you put them somewhere else? Like, it just seemed weird. And I don't know. And then the bust was there. You're right. The bust was there. He had 2 candle warmers on his desk. So you think of like a football coach, you think like a tough guy. He had 2 candle warmers. The girls that I was with, they were soldiers, they were females, they were marketing people, and they were like, oh, it smells so nice in here. I'm like, where are we? Like, why is this
burning incense with like satin drapes?
Yeah, there was soft music, the lights were down. It was real strange.
You know, everything's starting to make sense.
A lot of couches in there.
There's a lot you can question when things go to shit, and you know that go down last week. You know, if
Jenna, we're talking about more. We're talking about
if you win, nobody questions that stuff. You know, if you win, it's just it's part of the deal. But like, you know, when things go south and go off the rails, then you can start to look at those things. And yeah, a lot of people can question things. Look, Jared, we're at an hour and 45 minutes here. I've seen a couple of people say push for 2 hours. Do you got another 15 minutes in you to take questions? You think you can?
Yeah, I'm good. We're talking about casting couches.
Here's the
now.
deal.
Strange.
Yeah, we've completely gone off the rails here, but I am fully caught up here. I am at the latest. So, oh boy, we can't be taking any of these comments. But if you've got questions, now's the time. I'm fully caught up. I think I went through. You know, we talked about the Dillingham stuff a lot. I think, you know, there were some other coaching questions that were in there. I think we've touched on that stuff a lot.
Mark Stoops, that's a good one.
No, have not talked about Mark Stoops. This is a question from Pigs 76 with a profile picture of some pigs. Cool. From the YouTube page says, question, have you discussed Mark Stoops? I have not. Jared, do you have any thoughts on Mark Stoops?
Well, I think what this person's asking is throughout the show, there's been a couple of fans asking about Stoops, and you think if he would be a good hire. I don't. Again, he, as you've said, Chris, to use your term, doesn't move the needle for me. I mean, obviously has had success, has a solid name. You know, was always a decent recruiter. Probably could do well with the transfer portal world, but just not somebody that. I don't know. I just, it doesn't excite me, right? Doesn't get me going, as you would say.
Yeah, no, I mean, and to be honest, I am not a Mark Stoops expert. I mean, I know he's had some success at Kentucky, and obviously he's got, you know, he's been in coaching for a long time. He's
58, so he's young, and he's you know, one thing about Stoops, I just forgot, but it came back to me. He has recruited really well against Michigan. He stole some decent players. And he's done well in the Detroit area.
I remember that. I remember Michigan battling with like Kentucky.
We had 2 guys that he took. Didn't he take like twin players from us or something? Like he took a couple of deep
guys. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I can't remember who they were. Like
I was
kind of devastated.
Well, I don't think Mark Stoops. Mark Stoops does not really move the needle for me. And if you're trying to sell me on the fact that Michigan's a tier 1 job, then you can miss me with the Mark Stoops stuff. Like,
miss me with that.
Miss me with it.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was the Smith twins, and then when DJ Waller went in the Gerard and Jacob Smith, their defensive end.
That's right. Yep.
Dudes, yep. And then remember when DJ Waller surprised us all, went in the portal? He took him too.
He was a guy I was pretty high on. I thought he was going to.
Yeah, he was like they gave a starting role, and he. So, I mean, Stoops, hell, he might not be a horrible with his age and his ability to recruit, and he's got a background, and obviously he knows how to use NIL. He's beat us. He beat Michigan. Those Smith brothers, we wanted those guys. They were a big part of the program or the recruiting class. So,
CJ Frazier asks, one thing you really want for Christmas this year. Is this Michigan related, or are we just talking in general? Jared, what's one thing you really want for Christmas this year?
Me?
Yeah,
Dude, I just put my tree up yesterday, bro. I'm the Christmas. Yeah, I want my bank account to go back to what it was before Christmas. How's that? Yes. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope my kids are listening. That's to all of you, legitimate and illegitimate. Illegitimate. Sorry, I didn't get you anything. I don't know you exist. My bad. I'm just saying. Don't get mad at your dad that you exist.
Lydia asks if we have a bowl game prediction at this point, or should we call it speculation? Yeah, I mean, I I don't know. I haven't really put too much thought into it. It still feels like, I don't know. How many days away are we from the bowl game? We're
13,
almost 2 weeks. Yeah, I feel like so much is going to happen in the next 2 weeks, and I'm just kind of waiting to see what that all looks like. Who's going to declare? Who's going to play? Who's not going to play? I think that's the biggest question right now. Is we don't really know all of the weapons that Michigan's going to have at its disposal, mostly on the defensive side of the ball. I think offense we've got figured out, but I think we just need some time to see how this comes together, what happens with the coaching search, if they make an announcement, and then the players that, decide to remain, and what guys hit the transfer portal. Because I think, honestly, regardless of what Michigan does from its head coaching standpoint, you're going to see guys that enter the transfer portal and guys that aren't going to play in the bowl game. So it's just kind of a wait and see thing. We may be a little bit too early there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think Michigan wins it. I think that we're going to have more players in the skill positions play, and I'm still not all the way sold on Arch Manning. He's a kind of a hit or miss guy. So
Matt Seifert from the Facebook page asks, will they reach for a hire or wait for the best person who is a top candidate? I think that's the biggest question mark right now. I think it's
answer it. What's your gut? What's your gut? Go with your gut right now. What do you think? Reach or wait? Go.
I just don't see Michigan making a reach of a hire.
You can't do it with one word. Yeah.
I don't think they're going to make a reach of a hire.
I sadly think they are, my friend. I think that they will.
So DeBoer, not a reach, right?
Correct.
Are we in agreement there? Dillingham? Dillingham?
It's not a T-Rex arm, but it's a little bit of a reach. You know what I mean?
All right. And then beyond Dillingham, is every other guy a reach?
I think they're all reaches for this program. I think they are. Don't you?
Yeah, I do. Again,
I think they're going to hire somebody. I think especially with Ward on the hot seat, like the inability to hire a coach is not going to cool his seat down any. You know what I'm saying? So he's got to fill that spot. And the regents and whoever, I don't know how tied into the whole football program, into football they are. I mean, if he can sell it to him, but I think saying, hey, I know all this shit happened while I was athletic director. I also haven't been able to hire a football coach, but please don't fire me. That's a tough sell on his part. I think he's got to fill
a hire. If you're him, you want to make a good hire.
Yeah. And I think that I don't think Dilly's a reach, and I really do. And the more we talk about it, I do think that Michigan has an offer to put in his lap that he can accept, and it affects everybody around him positively. You know what I mean? I don't think Kalen's coming. I don't think DeBoer is going to leave Alabama. I wouldn't leave Alabama. I just wouldn't. I mean, it's been a powerhouse program for years, and I get it was a lot of Nick Saban, but kids still go to Alabama because it's Alabama. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. It's Alabama, but I wouldn't want to deal with the rednecks. You got to go out and do the photos with them and shake hands with them. Alabama rednecks. Can't really do that.
All right.
I'd rather rub elbows in Ann Arbor with the sophisticated Northerners. I might be an idiot here. Brian from the Facebook page says it's a 2-horse race for me. Jesse Minter or Adam Stenavich. Case closed. What are your thoughts? Full transparency, I have no idea who Adam Stenavich is. So, Jared, do you want to take a stab at that?
I haven't heard that name at all. I don't know what. And Jesse Minter is about as far out of it as possible. Oh, the Packers. Oh God, no, we don't want that. He's a Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator, and he's young. He's 42. I haven't heard that name. He's a former Michigan guy.
Okay. All right.
And it could be one of the ones that we're talking about, right, Brian Kirsch? It could be that they are waiting for these guys because the Packers are in the thick of a playoff race right now. Minter, and I mean, they're going to make the playoffs. I think the Packers, their friends, they probably will too. Like, do you wait? I mean, what do you do? You could hire an NFL guy, I guess, and say, hey, when your season's done, come on over.
Yeah, and it could end up going that way too. I mean, we talk about Kalen DeBoer and Dillingham like all day, every day, as if these are the two. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a type of hire like that, somebody they bring from the NFL.
That brings prestige, right? Especially Stenavich coming over with Jordan Love, and he turned that guy into he was a low in the 27th pick overall for the NFL draft, sat behind Rodgers, booted Rodgers out, and now he's a $50 million a year quarterback. I mean, Bryce Underwood and his camp have to look at that type of hire. Brian, now I think this is actually not terrible. Yeah, now we got people fired up on it saying that's a good idea. That's actually not a bad hire. You can go to Underwood's team and say, look what he did with Jordan Love, right? Who's a similar type guy, tall, lanky, big arm. That's not a hard sell.
Yeah, and 98% of the fan base would need to Google and figure out who he is. You know what I mean?
Perfect.
Because he doesn't really have that type
Packers,
of
we hate him.
So, yeah. Right. So, but yeah, it would not surprise me if it was a name like that one of these names that hasn't been thrown out and listed in all of these reports that have come out. Like, I just think that's where we're at with this thing. I don't know where. I understand why Kalen DeBoer's name is being thrown around, and I guess Kenny Dillingham to a certain extent, but who came up with this list? To me, it's like, is this a media-driven thing? Did somebody from Michigan say these are the guys while a search firm was actively like, where did this list of names come from that we've decided to run with? I don't know, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was somebody that wasn't even on that list, and I guess that's just where we're at as of today, Thursday. Mike Shook from the Facebook page asks, will the Board of Regents be held accountable for the toxic culture that they have created? Mike, I know that there's been a lot of dialogue regarding the Board of Regents and some of the things that we've seen floating around on social media. There's speculation that at least one individual has been leaking things that are not really in a favorable light relating to the football program. And there's a lot of people that, want there to be some accountability there as well. I know that there's a process for that. It's not as easy as just like firing somebody and removing them from the board. I think that there's a process you have to go through. But my hope, Mike, is that this internal investigation, they look at everything, including Board of Regents. I hope this investigation takes a look at everything that's been going on within the University of Michigan as it relates to the football program and all the other programs within athletics too, including the Board of Regents. They take a look at everything. And if there's people that are a part of these things that don't have Michigan's best interest at heart and are doing things that I guess work against what's in Michigan's best interest, above board things, right? Not covering things up. But if you're just doing things to sort of make waves and rock the boat, then I think that you got to take a look at that and you got to make some tough decisions. So I'm hoping that folks, if they've done some things that they need to be held accountable for, I'm hoping that they are. I guess only time will tell there, Jared. Any thoughts about the Board of Regents side of things?
No, yeah. Linda Joe Manson. Did we say it's Joe Manson or Joe Monson? Whatever. Linda just made a comment.
I think Linda Joe Manson.
The regents are elected officials, right? So there's a process behind that. But I do know that the firm that got hired is looking into the whole thing. They're looking at everything, and I do believe that if they start pulling the string and it keeps unraveling, they're going to keep pulling. And if and that guy, the guy that you're talking about, I'm not going to say his name, but there's some receipts. I mean, there's some screenshots.
But even then, like, are those real?
Could be AI, but
yeah, did somebody just make it?
Denounced it. That's when I start thinking about things that, like, because I have a hard time. I don't know what the hell's AI these days, but when somebody drags your name through the mud and throws a screenshot and you don't come back and say, I never said that.
Right. And somebody's very specific saying, hey, here's a conversation I had with this person. That's like,
correct.
Okay, like either you're out there lying and making things up and now you're putting yourself at risk for like maybe some legal blowback, because I would imagine that this could lead to a problem, or what you're saying is real and valid and you've got the receipts and it's a shitty situation. So it's a lot of speculation about that side of thing, but some of the things we have seen have not been great. We'll just put it that way, and we'll see what happens. CJ Frazier with, I don't think there's any question here. Dillingham is a playoff coach, less of a reach than Sharon Moore was. There is zero question in my mind that Kenny Dillingham is less of a reach than Sharon Moore was. Correct. No question in my mind that we will be better off with a Kenny Dillingham than we were with a Sharon Moore. So even if some of these guys are a reach, Jared, maybe that's the bright side in all of this, is like, reach or not, it's going to be an upgrade from where we've been over the last 2 years. I think everybody can say that pretty confidently. So there's one thing to make you feel good about this coaching search, even if it's names that don't really get you excited. Michigan should come out ahead of this, regardless of who they decide to hire.
If Sharon Moore was on the staff right now and somebody else had become the coach between Harbaugh and Moore, and they had gone through this scandal and gone, I don't think we would be talking about Sharon Moore as a possible candidate. I don't think we would. We would say he doesn't have the experience. He, all those things. Just like back then, I feel like the Harbaugh thing happened he played it out so well that we didn't really even have a chance to talk about somebody, because we were looking at, holy shit, we got to get in the portal and get a quarterback. We got to do all these things so we can salvage our season, which we weren't able to do. And we had no quarterback and we went 8-5. As fans, I remember we were talking like, we got to get this thing solved. More, whatever, put him in there and let's move. You know what I mean?
Continuity. That was what it was. Yeah.
I don't want that to happen right now.
Right. And you wanted to retain Will Johnson and Mason Graham and Colston Loveland and Kenneth Grant and all these guys, right? You wanted to hold on to all of these guys who were going to be high draft picks. You wanted to keep them on the roster. And so it seemed like Sherrone Moore was the path of least resistance. And come to find out that sometimes that's not the best path to take.
No,
because
which proves my point, though, too. Like, these kids don't – there's no thing saying that they bought into Sherrone Moore. All these guys that we retained last time, they recruited under Harbaugh, right? But they stayed. Like, Will Johnson could have went. Those guys could have went and made so much money. And they – looking at that roster going to that Sherrone Moore's first year, they knew they weren't going back to the playoff. They knew they weren't winning back to – you know what I mean? You could just look at the roster. The quarterback room was – a travesty, you know what I mean? They knew. So
listen, I don't mean.
Oh boy, he did it. Yep, he spelled the wrong, bro. That's tough. That's tough when you're trying to prove a point here.
Advocating for the rednecks and you're completely off. No, yeah. Look, there are some rednecks that. Yeah, I'm sure that there are rednecks that are wonderful people. I know some rednecks who are wonderful. Goodness gracious. The wheels are coming off.
Get away.
Good Lord.
I don't say hi to everybody.
I was going to defend rednecks and then I didn't really know how. So I did not mean to offend any of the good rednecks out there, but the Alabama.
The one guy that was the one redneck that was following us.
That's deep redneck. That's like alarming, concerning redneck. Alabama redneck, you know?
Yeah, that's different.
They're not like the Michigan rednecks.
I've been to Alabama multiple
times. The West Virginia rednecks, like those kind of like
the banjos, those are dangerous. You got to be careful.
Like Deliverance, right? Like you can't get off the beaten path.
Movie.
Right.
Horrifying movie.
All right, we've hit the 2-hour mark here. We stretched it out. It is a Winged Helmet podcast record. We went a full 2 hours. I don't know. I don't think we did too bad of a job here. I got to get up. I got to stretch. I don't know. I mean, I got to go work out. I got to do something here. But Jared, I think
going to the gym. You asked, have you been going to the gym?
Well, I kind of fell off. I need like an accountability buddy to help keep me on it here. I need to. I just got to get back in the flow, man. I'm at that age right now where if I start to let things go, it could get scary real quick. So yeah, maybe you could be the person that sends me the text every day and keeps me on point. But yeah, I appreciate everybody who hung out in here. There's some people that were in here for 2 hours. Great questions in the comments here. Really appreciate it. And you guys are the reason why we are able to go this long. So appreciate everybody once again. Like,
let's close it with that.
Giving me the side eye here. I appreciate everybody who hung out here. The plan right now, wait a minute. I think you're going to be out next week, right? Are you going on another adventure?
No, I don't think I'm on another adventure. Hold on. I think
the plan one way or another is to be back.
I'm back on Monday. We're good Monday.
Back on Monday. Okay, so we will be back on Monday, 6 p.m. And we'll see if at that point we have any new information regarding the coaching search. I don't think that'll be the case, but hopefully when we come back here on Monday, we've got some actual football related things to talk about and less speculation. Because I would like to get back to the business of talking football, talking about this roster, talking about some guys you can add in the transfer portal. But again, until Michigan makes this decision with its head coaching hire, we're all kind of sitting around and waiting and asking the same questions together. So again, I appreciate the participation tonight. Everybody who hung out here for a couple hours, definitely grateful for that. We will see you back here Monday live, Facebook, YouTube, 6 p.m. Come hang out again. Take care, everybody.